Are you ready for the ultimate Zarpado compilation facts? Subscribe and let's start. The name Xbox comes from DirectX because internally the idea was to make a DirectX box, a box designed to run games using Microsoft's graphics technology. Over time, that long name was shortened until it became simply Xbox. Easier to say and easier to sell as a brand. There were even different spelling variants floating around before the final name stuck. Some bees sleep by biting onto small twigs, so they do not fall, and that is not an exaggeration. Male solitary bees can hang from stems or twigs using their jaws, spending the night outdoors like a natural hook, so the wind does not knock them down. In many cases, they return to the same sleeping spot night after night, like having a favorite perch. Henry Behrens was only about 2 feet 6 inches tall and still lived with style, which is why his story became one of those famous oddities of the last century. He was an artist and public figure of his time, known for appearing in newsreels and shows. And yes, that classic photo of him dancing with his cat at the door of his house exists and became iconic. The shortest national anthem is Japan's Cimabue, and the reason is that its lyrics come from a very short and ancient waka poem. It is so brief that depending on how you count it, you get different numbers, but the idea is the same. It goes straight to the point. The funny contrast is the tiny text paired with a solemn and very slow performance. A restaurant projects its dishes in 3D onto the table so you can see the food before it arrives, usually using projection mapping. The most famous example is a show like Le Petit Chef, where a tiny animated chef appears cooking on your plate as if the table were a screen. The charm is mixing story, visuals, and the real dish so you feel like you are inside a movie while you eat. A painting hanging in a hallway was valued at millions because it turned out to be by Cimabue. And the shocking part is that it was in a normal house like any other small picture. In the famous case, the artwork was estimated at millions before auction and ended up selling for far more. It is the kind of story that gives you chills. Something historic hanging on a wall for years and nobody knew. How to One, a Chinese village, was abandoned and nature swallowed it, and it is usually known as How to One in the Shaanxi Islands area. And what makes it incredible is the look. Entire buildings covered in vegetation, as if green had eaten the walls. It became famous because it looks like a movie set, but it is real, which is why it attracts photographers and curious visitors. Mr. Blue Sky by ELO is often labeled as the happiest song, but that title usually comes from surveys or viral rankings rather than one definitive study. Still, it makes sense that people vote it that way because it is bright, fast, and leaves a sunny feeling in your head. It works like a good mood button, even if the happiest in the world depends on who measures it and how. Smoke the Grumpy Cat is a celebrity with an online shop and an Instagram account, and that kind of character works perfectly on social media. Sort of the permanently annoyed face becomes a brand because it looks like the cat is judging everything. The less he reacts to cute or ridiculous situations, the funnier it gets. The oldest pencil in the world is actually a lip pencil, and the wild part is that we are talking about ancient cosmetics, not a modern school pencil. These finds show that thousands of years ago, people were already mixing pigments with fats to create something like lipstick. So it was not just survival, but also aesthetics, identity, and ritual. Manchester created special lanes for people using their phones while walking. And the striking thing is that many times this was more of a publicity action or campaign than a permanent rule. The idea was to highlight a real problem, people bumping into each other while staring at screens. It works as an image because it looks like a joke, but they actually did it in a very busy area. The car designed by Homer Simpson was brought to real life, which is why it became one of those internet oddities that seems fake until you see it. Often these are replicas made by fans using old cars and copying the exaggerated look from the show. The best part is the joke itself. The design was absurd on purpose, and someone still said, yes, I will build it. A time lapse of a pepper plant over 115 days shows you something you never see fully in real life. Growth in fast mode. You can see how it searches for light, how the stem changes, how flowers appear, and then the fruit. The visual hit comes when you realize it looks slow, but a lot is happening all the time, and your eyes just cannot register it. Jupiter has lunar eclipses very often because it has many moons and some orbit extremely fast. For example, Io goes around Jupiter in about 42.5 hours, which makes shadows and alignments happen again and again. Sometimes you can see chained events, like the system is an eclipse machine. George Harmony recreates movie sounds like those from Ratatouille using drums, voice, and everyday objects, which is basically the world of Foley. What is impressive is how simple it is. A bag, a piece of wood, a hit, and your brain translates it into kitchen noises, footsteps, or boiling sauce. Seeing the behind the scenes ruins the magic a bit. Look at this prophet from the 16th century whose cryptic predictions are still debated because the trick is ambiguity. In the typical case, like Nostradamus, the phrases are open enough that people can fit them to events after they happen. That is why there are two eternal camps. He predicted it versus it was interpreted afterward. Chang and Eng, the original Siamese twins, were born in what is now Thailand, and their fame caused the term Siamese to be used for a long time. Today, people usually prefer conjoined twins, but the historical nickname stuck because of their cultural impact. Their lives also show how entertainment and medicine worked in that century, with some very harsh things treated as spectacle. Jonathan the tortoise has been around for more than 186 years on the island of St. Helena and is considered the oldest known living land animal. What is impressive is not just the estimated age, but everything he has lived through in historical terms. He lives at Plantation House and is still a kind of local celebrity, like a legend with a shell. Your eyes get more exercise than your legs because they make an absurd number of movements every day to scan the world. Most of them are fast micro jumps rather than smooth motion, and your brain corrects them so you do not see everything shaking. Basically, you live with an automatic stabilizer in your head and never notice. Apps from the 1980s would have been very different if they had existed back then because hardware limitations ruled everything. Few colors, huge fonts, simple icons, and screens that did not forgive detail. Today we call it retro, but back then it was the best possible option with what existed. There is a robot called Prayer that writes and recites prayers autonomously, and it is usually presented as an art piece rather than a real religious replacement. The intention is to make you think, if a machine can generate prayers, which part of the ritual is faith and which part is form? Projects like the prayer are described as reflections on modern spirituality using artificial intelligence and performance. Elephants seem enormous, but a blue whale's tongue weighs more than an elephant, and that fact breaks your sense of scale. You are not comparing big animal to big animal, but one body part to a whole animal. It is the best example of understanding that a blue whale is in a completely different league. A Canada goose can have up to 25,000 feathers, and most of them are not the pretty outer ones, but down that works like a heavy winter jacket. That insulation is what lets them handle cold and icy water without much trouble. On top of that, they shed feathers regularly, like renewing their coat every season. The door of the Alcobaça monastery was said to be so narrow that it prevented monks from gaining weight. But this story usually circulates as a viral myth. And the most likely explanation is that the narrow door had practical architectural reasons, and later people added the moral tale about gluttony. It is one of those perfect legends, simple, funny, and easy to share. Obsidian, that volcanic rock, can be sharper than a surgical scalpel, which is why obsidian blades exist in very specific surgical contexts. The key is the microscopic edge, which can cut extremely cleanly, and there are studies comparing healing and tissue response versus steel. The problem is that it is also fragile, so it does not replace regular scalpels everywhere, but as a fact, it is wild. During dental cleanings, special dyes are sometimes used to detect plaque or invisible bacteria, and this is widely used for education. It stains the areas where you are brushing poorly, like a real-time error map. It is simple but very effective, because it stops being, I think I brushed well, and becomes, look, right here, you did not. A plant in a bottle survived starting in 1960 with a last watering in 1972, and the impressive part is that it became a closed mini ecosystem. Water evaporates, condenses, falls back down, and the plant recycles what it can inside that tiny world. It is like watching a miniature version of the water cycle working on its own for decades. Seeing a solar eclipse from space is like watching magic in slow motion, because from above you can see the shadow racing across Earth. From the ground you experience the eclipse as a moment, but from space you see it as a massive phenomenon moving across continents. Same reality, totally different perspective. From Mount Everest you can see the entire Himalayas when the sky is clear, which feeds the myth of the roof of the world. The detail is that it does not always happen, because weather decides everything, so perfect views are a rare reward. When it happens, the horizon looks endless, like the earth stretched out. The Great Sphinx of Giza does have a tail, but it almost never appears in photos because most images only show the face in front. The statue is about 240 feet long from paws to tail, so the tail is a real part of the lion body. It exists, but it falls outside the typical frame. So many people do not know about it. Europa and Ganymede, moons of Jupiter, are estimated to have more water than Earth. With a twist, it is trapped under layers of ice. On Ganymede, there is talk of a buried ocean that could contain more water than all of Earth's surface water. And on Europa, there is thought to be a global ocean beneath the ice. It sounds like water equals life, but the challenge is huge because of cold, pressure, and chemistry. Real velociraptors were about the size of a turkey, but in Jurassic Park they were turned into large horror dinosaurs. Part of the confusion comes from movies mixing traits from larger relatives and adjusting them to be scary on screen. The result is that many people believe real velociraptors were huge, when in reality they were much smaller. Pareidolia is when your brain prefers to be wrong rather than miss a real face, which is why you find faces in outlets, clouds, stains, and even a bitten cookie. It is a pattern recognition shortcut. In low light or ambiguous shapes, your mind fills in the gaps. That is also why it works with very simple objects, because 2 dots and a line are enough for your brain to shout face. The first McDonald's of the empire opened on April 15, 1955, when Ray Kroc set up his restaurant in Des Plaines, Illinois. And the format already followed that logic of speed and repetition you recognize today. Wrapping and serving food in paper was not a small detail because it helped produce faster, keep things cleaner, and make food easy to take away. From day one, the idea was that the burger would always be the same, and the customer would not have to wait. That whole vermiform thing sounds like an internet nickname, but the famous candidate from more than 500 million years ago is Nectocaris, a Cambrian creature now interpreted as a very early relative of the lineage that ends in squids and octopuses. It was not a modern octopus, but the idea is already there. A soft body, tentacles, and a way of moving that feels like a proto-cephalopod. The wild part is that for years, nobody knew where to place it, until many more fossils appeared and the puzzle finally made sense. The ghost bird is usually the Po-2, and its trick looks straight out of a movie. It stays perfectly still, stretched out and pressed against a tree trunk like a broken branch. It even has that strange half-closed eye look that helps blur where the tree ends and the bird begins. During the day it goes unnoticed, and at night it hunts insects, which is why people experience it like a forest spirit. Watching fruit rot in a time-lapse is like seeing an entire city take over at high speed. First the shine fades, then spots appear, and suddenly the cottony mold shows up. At that point, it is not just ugly. Fungi, yeasts, and bacteria are eating sugars and breaking down tissues, which is why the fruit softens and collapses. The most hypnotic part is that mold does not really grow slowly. It explodes once humidity and food give the signal. When Venus transits in front of the sun, it is not an eclipse. It is a tiny black dot crossing the solar disk. What makes it incredible is how rare it is. They come in pairs separated by 8 years and then disappear for more than a century. The last one was in 2012, before that in 2004, and the next will not happen until 2117. Basically, a whole lifetime gap. For centuries, these transits helped refine measurements of the solar system, like the universe lending you a ruler for a few hours and then taking it away. Mosquito swarms give off zombie vibes, but many times what you are seeing is a mating gathering. Huge numbers of males group together in one spot and wait for females to arrive. They often form these clouds at dusk and around landmarks like edges, clearings, or visible features of the area. If there is a screen or net nearby, you see the swarm pressed against it, like a single giant creature pushing all at once. The story of Ann Hodges sounds made up, but it is one of the most cited cases. A woman who was actually hit by a meteorite, impact and all. And that is why her story always comes up when someone asks if a meteorite has ever hit a person. The surreal detail is that there is no epic crater, just a normal life interrupted by a rock from space. A wine bottle about 1,600 years old, the famous Speyer bottle, was sealed since Roman times and still contains a liquid inside, which is a historical mind blow. The trick is that it is not drinkable wine as we imagine it today. It likely has protective layers like oil and seals that prevented evaporation and contamination. The most impressive part is that it is not a myth. It is in a museum, like a time capsule screaming, "This was buried since the 4th century." John Brower Minnick is the name that comes up when talking about the medical record for the heaviest person ever recorded. Mana, with peak estimates around 1,400 pounds, though measuring precisely was extremely difficult because of his condition. His case is not just a shock fact, it also shows how hard these situations are to treat when there is massive edema and serious heart and breathing problems. The saddest part is that even after losing a huge amount of weight with treatment, the body could rebound and gain again, like an endless fight. The idea of snails having ears is a bit of a trick. They do not have ears like we do, but they do have extremely sensitive tentacles they use to smell, touch, and orient themselves. Those tentacles move using muscles and internal pressure, which is why they look like living antennas that stretch, point, and snap back instantly when startled. So the effect feels like hearing. Maria, but they are really reading the world through vibration, chemistry, and contact. Pangaea was the supercontinent that brought almost all land together into a single mass. And when you look at it on a map, it hits you with that uncomfortable thought that everything far apart today used to be neighbors. Later it broke apart, and that split was not an explosion, but a slow unbuilding, plates separating, oceans opening, continents drifting away as if pushed with infinite patience. That is why fossils and rocks match on opposite sides of the Atlantic. They used to be attached. There are bees from the genus Osmia that build nests like works of art. They cut flower petals and use them to line or separate little chambers where they leave their young with food. That lining works as protection and also as a microclimate, a kind of cradle with soft walls that helps control humidity and insulation. The nicest part is that it is not an aesthetic whim. It is biological engineering using floral materials. Omphallophobia is the irrational fear of the belly button, and it can range from do not look at it to do not touch it even as a joke. Sometimes it is disgust, sometimes anxiety, and many people experience it as a forbidden zone of the body, almost like it does not belong to them. Like other specific phobias, it can improve with therapy and gradual exposure. That clock at the Amsterdam airport that looks like it is being painted in real time is actually an art illusion. You swear there is someone inside drawing the hands, but it is really a carefully constructed video designed to feel live. The trick works because the camera angle and human gestures fool the brain into a sense of constant present time. That is what makes it great. A normal object turned into, how did they do this? Superman did not fly at first. He famously could leap tall buildings in a single bound, which defined his vibe as more athletic beast than rocket. Later, in the animated shorts of the 1940s, he was given flight because animating constant jumping looked strange and was harder to do. That idea spread to other versions, meaning his most iconic power became standard because of a practical animation decision, not lore magic. The story of Elon Musk programming his first game at 12 years old is one of those origin tales framed as genius or villain material. A kid writing code while others were trading cards. It is said the game was called Blaster and that he sold it for $500, which sounds small today, but at that age is more proof of obsession than business. The fun part is imagining him learning to code with a finish it and publish it mindset that early. The smallest international bridge in the world sounds like a joke, but it exists. It is so short you cross it in seconds and suddenly you are in another country. That is why it goes viral, because it breaks your mental scale of what a border should look like. On top of that, it often looks like a simple footbridge, as if someone said this is enough. Twinkie was a record-breaking balloon-popping dog, but the precise detail matters. The current record reached 100 balloons in 28.22 seconds, while earlier records were slower. Artistry like Twinkie's 39.08 seconds. That makes the story perfect for video. First the amazing dog, then someone comes along and makes it even more absurd, like the balloons are personal enemies. In Castaway, Tom Hanks went through a real physical transformation, which is why production was paused. They filmed part of the movie first, stopped, and resumed after he lost weight and changed his appearance, so the passage of time felt authentic. The pause was so long that the director used the same crew to film another movie during the break. The film literally has a year in the middle, and you can feel it because it is not makeup, it is real body in real time. School buses are yellow because the idea is that they scream here. I am even in fog, rain, or poor visibility. And that the contrast with dark lettering is easy to read. The color became standard, not for looks, but for safety and instant recognition. It is basically emergency branding, but applied to children. The line, "He is a friend from work" in Thor Ragnarok feels improvised because it actually was. It came from a Make-A-Wish kid visiting the set and ended up in the final movie. That is why the joke lands so well. It sounds like something anyone would say to defuse tension in the middle of a massive fight. It is one of those details that adds humanity to a blockbuster. That reddish albino-looking seal with blue eyes became famous because it is extremely rare, and that rarity is exactly why people worry. In social animals, looking different can mean rejection or being pushed out of the group. And what we see as "wow, how beautiful" can be read by the colony as it does not fit. The story hits because it mixes cuteness with real risk, like an ugly duckling tale set in icy seas. The idea of a perfectly frozen bird sounds like a sudden cold snap, but the real version is even more impressive. A bird from the Ice Age was found preserved in permafrost for tens of thousands of years, so well kept it looked recent. It did not freeze yesterday. The ice protected it from decay for millennia, like a natural capsule. Because of that, scientists were able to analyze DNA and reconstruct part of its history. The glass-winged butterfly, Greta Otto, looks like a digital trick, but it is pure biology. It has fewer opaque scales in certain areas and also uses nanostructures that reduce reflections, like built-in anti-glare. So that helps it disappear in flight because it does not reflect light like a normal wing. It is literally camouflage through transparency, a flying jewel that becomes hard to track with your eyes. In 1924, human chess was played in Leningrad, and it was a spectacle. Giant pieces, people acting as the pieces, and thousands watching like it was a sport. The game lasted for hours, with moves announced so the human pieces could reposition themselves on the huge board, like tactical theater. What makes it beautiful is that chess, usually quiet and intimate, turned into a public square event. Pure Soviet showmanship. Monarch butterflies of the so-called fourth generation, often called the Methuselah generation, live much longer because they enter a kind of biological pause. They eat, store energy, and do not reproduce right away. That is why they can survive for months and complete the Great Migration, as if their mission is to be the traveling generation of the year. While other generations live only weeks, This one can last half a year or more if conditions allow. Sand vipers are masters of camouflage. They bury themselves by moving as if they are swimming under the sand, leaving almost only their eyes and nostrils exposed. They wait perfectly still, and when prey passes by, they strike in a second. It is a perfect hunting trick and also a great way to avoid being seen by predators. Japan is pushing hard on the idea of flying cars, where electric vertical takeoff and landing vehicles used as air taxis. There are already prototypes and test flights, and public plans aim for urban services within the next decade. Tokyo has presented plans to introduce air taxis by 2030, and companies like SkyDrive have shown prototypes in progress with commercial operation goals before that date. It is not science fiction, it is a project with a timeline and partners. The claim that the heart could shoot a jet of blood up to 10 yards is often repeated as a viral fact, but it depends on how you imagine it and on real fluid physics. Normal blood pressure is high, but a clean vertical jet usually does not reach that far in real conditions. Still, the idea helps explain something simple. The heart is a powerful pump, and a damaged artery can expel blood in strong pulsing bursts. Lucille Randon, also known as Sister André, was a French nun who became the oldest living person in the world and died at 118 years old. She lived through wars, epidemics, and massive changes across the 20th and 21st centuries, yet kept simple routines and a sense of humor. Her story became famous because she was literally a walking piece of history. A bear breaking into a house for a snack sounds like a joke, but it happens. Bears have an incredible sense of smell, and if they detect food or trash, they will try their luck. In many parts of North America, black bears approach residential areas when they find easy food sources. That is when the surreal moment happens, you at home, and nature ringing the doorbell uninvited. Seeing a wave from below is like staring at a living wall of water and light. The top becomes a folding curtain, and everything vibrates with bubbles. From that angle, you understand why a wave can be beautiful and dangerous at the same time. When it breaks, the world turns into foam in a second. Ancient Egyptians worshipped cats for several reasons, one key being Bastet, a goddess closely tied to home protection and care. In many periods, cats were so respected that they were mummified, and their image appears everywhere in art and amulets. There are also symbolic links to solar power through concepts like the Eye of Ra, sometimes associated with feline deities. There is a bizarre sport that feels like someone said, "I want to fight, but I also want to do tricks." It is called combat juggling. The idea mixes juggling with physical contact, balance, and strategy because it is not only about winning the clash, but also about keeping technique without losing control. It is like the circus and wrestling met on a street corner. The eyes you see on aspen trunks are usually scars. They are marks where branches or shoots used to be and the tree sealed them over time. That is why they look like repeated dark ovals, almost as if the tree were staring at you. Pareidolia does the rest, and once your brain sees a face, it cannot unsee it. In the 13th and 14th centuries, many people in Europe drew exotic animals they had never seen, based only on stories. That is why lions and elephants look dreamlike, with strange proportions and invented details. It was not simple ignorance. It was imagination working with incomplete information, like a medieval game of broken telephone. With a bombardier beetle basically has a tiny chemical cannon. It mixes substances in a chamber, triggers a hot reaction, and fires an irritating spray. Some descriptions say the reaction can get close to the boiling point of water. The result is a shot that hurts and scares predators, buying the beetle time to escape. Sea urchins really do wear hats, thanks to a behavior called covering behavior. They use their tube feet and spines to move pebbles, shells, and whatever they find onto their bodies. This can protect them from strong light, currents, or predators depending on the situation. If you give them a small human object, they sometimes use it too, because to them, it is just covering material. The story about a Jesus statue in Poland having Wi-Fi is real. In Świebodzin, there was controversy after antennas were detected in the crown of the monument. The story went viral because it mixed religion, technology, and a strong who approved this vibe. According to reports, the installation was later ordered to be removed. The mammoth camera was a real beast. This famous camera from the early 20th century was so massive that it reportedly weighed hundreds of pounds and required a large crew to move and operate. It was built to capture enormous photographs on a single plate, basically a technological flex of its time. All that machinery existed to produce one gigantic image. Sewer covers with maps in Oklahoma are a brilliantly simple idea. Some covers are engraved with a small city map and a "You Are Here" marker to help with orientation. It is like an analog GPS that never runs out of battery and sits right under your feet. Once you know about it, you start looking at the ground like it is hiding secrets. A chimpanzee with alopecia can look shocking, but it also reveals something fur usually hides: raw muscle structure. Chimpanzees are incredibly strong for their size because their daily life involves climbing, pulling, fighting for territory, and moving like an athlete. When they lose hair, they can look like jungle bodybuilders. The steampunk-style clock robot that writes the time fits perfectly into the category of useless but hypnotic machines. It draws the time, erases it, and redraws it minute after minute. Many people know this idea from projects like Plot Clock, where time becomes a live drawing. You are literally watching the clock work instead of just reading numbers. When you compare Earth to Saturn's rings at scale, it really clicks. Our planet would be like a marble next to an enormous and incredibly thin ring. The rings are huge in diameter, but razor thin, like a floating sheet around a giant planet. That mix of massive and delicate is what makes them so hard to imagine. The Bailong elevator in Zhangjiajie is not a normal elevator. It is the tallest outdoor elevator by records, built against a cliff face, and it lifts you more than 1,000 feet in seconds. It is a brutal solution for a place where walking up would take forever. The ride itself is part of the spectacle because you are inside a glass box with the mountain all around you. A player without arms winning at table tennis using their mouth sounds impossible, but it is real. Some athletes hold the paddle with their mouth and control everything with body movement and reflexes. The most impressive part is not just that it works, but the mental precision required. Spin reading, timing, placement, everything. It is one of those moments where your brain says, this is video game level. The Catatumbo lightning is famous because that region of Venezuela has extremely frequent electrical storms, with seasons where lightning repeats night after night. It is studied as a very specific climate phenomenon tied to wind patterns, humidity, and local geography. That is why it feels like a natural show on a schedule. The deepest hole ever drilled, the Kola Super Deep Borehole, reached more than 7.5 miles deep. The wild part is that this is still basically nothing compared to the size of Earth. That is why people use the onion comparison. If Earth had layers like an onion, that depth barely scratches the outer skin. It is like poking the shell and claiming you understand the inside. The idea of a rabbit and hare hybrid is a cute myth, but biologically it does not work. They are different species and in practice do not produce viable hybrids. Even though they look similar, they belong to different groups within lagomorphs with strong reproductive barriers. Their chromosomes simply do not line up to make a real baby. Some juvenile fish hide under jellyfish like they are umbrellas with tentacles. The jellyfish offers protection because many predators avoid getting close. This association has been observed in several species and is usually seen as an anti-predator strategy. For the fish, it is a mobile home, and for you, it looks like a science fiction scene underwater. Maytree is one of those groups that melts your brain because they imitate Windows sounds, video games, and more, using only their voices with absurd precision. What starts as a joke turns into a showcase of extreme vocal control and group coordination. On top of that, it hits nostalgia, because one startup sound and your brain is back on old Windows. Retired pilots are often honored like heroes. There can be formations, salutes, applause, and sometimes rituals like a water salute when a special flight lands. It is a way of saying you closed a life in the sky with ceremony. For outsiders, it is emotional because you see aviation culture in full tribute mode. In Istanbul, a type of vertical turbine called Enlil made news because it is designed to capture air turbulence created by traffic and turn it into electricity. The idea is simple. If cars are already moving air all day, why not harvest some of that energy? It will not replace a power plant, but as an urban concept, it feels like a smart city hack. The first photograph of lightning in history is attributed to William Nicholson Jennings in 1882, when capturing a lightning strike was a technical nightmare. What is impressive is that more than a century later, it still has that "how did he do it" effect. It feels like the first screenshot of the sky in rage mode. Modern LED walls are like giant Lego sets. If a small section breaks, you often do not have to replace the entire panel, just the damaged module. That lowers costs, it speeds up repairs, and keeps massive screens running with minimal downtime. It is Tetris logic applied to stage and advertising technology. Goosebumps happen because we have tiny muscles in our skin called erector pili that pull on hair follicles. In animals with lots of fur, this helps them puff up to look bigger or conserve heat. But in humans, it is just a leftover reflex. That is why it triggers with cold or strong emotions, like your body pressing an ancient button. The photo of Daft Punk without helmets in 1993 is one of those before the myth moments, back when they were just two guys before becoming robotic icons. That is why the image hits so hard, it breaks the fantasy and reminds you that every legend starts in normal mode. Seeing it feels like opening a forbidden archive. Nauru is famous for having extremely high obesity rates and many sources listed among the countries with the highest percentage of adults with obesity. It is a complex issue involving diet, economic change, ultra-processed foods, and lifestyle. The fact stands out because it is a very small country that reflects a global problem in an extreme form. Niagara Falls in winter can partially freeze and create massive ice walls and frozen mist that look otherworldly. The falls do not turn off. The water keeps flowing, but the cold builds giant ice formations around it. It is nature making art with below freezing temperatures. Software for self-driving cars works like a multitasking brain. It combines cameras, radar, sensors, and maps to detect traffic lights, pedestrians, cyclists, and other vehicles at the same time. And the wild part is that it does not just see, it predicts, because it has to guess what the environment will do in seconds. The real challenge is not driving, it is driving in an unpredictable world. Good medieval armor was far more flexible than most people think. A knight could walk, sit, mount a horse, and move without being a robot. The myth comes from heavy display armor or poorly fitted pieces, but combat armor was designed to work. In short, it was wearable engineering, not an immobile tin can. Brown beer bottles exist for a very practical reason. They protect beer from light, which can create the infamous skunky flavor in some beers. Amber glass blocks more of the radiation that triggers that reaction, which is why it became standard. It is not about looks, it is about defending flavor. And when lightning strikes a golf course or grassy field, it can leave burn marks and strange branching patterns. Electricity looks for paths to discharge and rapidly heats what it finds. Sometimes you see lines that look drawn into the ground, like the soil was tattooed for a second. It is the sky leaving a violent signature. There is a semi-aquatic lizard in Costa Rica, an anole, that can stay underwater using an air bubble trapped against its head, like a tiny reusable snorkel. The bubble helps it reuse oxygen for a short time and stay hidden from predators longer. It sounds like science fiction, but it is pure biology. The platypus glowing under UV light is real. Its fur can fluoresce with greenish or bluish tones. What makes it stranger is that you do not expect fluorescence in a mammal since it is more often associated with insects or marine life. No one knows exactly why it does this, but as a fact, it is gold, an already weird animal that also glows. The story of the restaurant La Nueva Espuela and the Miss Pernil 2016 contest is the kind of surreal news that only works because it actually happened. A full event dedicated to awarding the best legs. It is a mix of local party, marketing, and accidental humor. When you tell it, people do not know whether to laugh or ask, wait, is this real? The first computer mouse began to be imagined in the early 1960s, and the first functional prototype was built in 1964. It was a wooden block with a single button and two perpendicular metal wheels, one measuring X movement and the other Y. It did not glide like modern mice. It literally read the table surface as coordinates. Clunky as it sounds, that idea permanently changed how we point and control screens. The lost remote control statistic is real and funny because of how specific it is. In a Logitech study, almost half were found between sofa cushions at 49%, and a small percentage ended up in absurd places like the refrigerator or freezer at 4%. It perfectly describes a universal scene of desperate searching and disbelief, only to find the remote buried like a domestic fossil. The red pirate flag was basically an ultimatum. It meant no quarter, with no promise of mercy if there was resistance. It was the equivalent of saying surrender now because if you fight, it will get ugly. It is sometimes contrasted with the black flag, which was already a strong threat. But the red one turned the intensity all the way up. F1 drivers sit almost lying down because every inch matters. Lowering the driver reduces the frontal area, hitting the air lowers the center of gravity, and allows tighter packaging inside the monocoque. On top of that, with brutal G-forces under braking and cornering that position, helps the body tolerate the load without losing fine control. It is not about comfort, it is about performance and survival. The long screw trick works for a simple reason. Many short screws only bite into the thin door frame, but a 3 to 4 inch screw can grab the structural wood behind it, the stud making the door much harder to kick in. It does not make your house impenetrable, but it massively increases resistance for very little money and effort. The blades of large wind turbines have already passed the 300-foot mark per blade, and that is visually wild. A single blade can be longer than a football field. The reason is pure physics. The larger the rotor, the more energy it can capture from the wind even at moderate speeds. When they spin, it feels like watching a giant creature moving slowly. Stick insects from the Phobaeticus group are not just long, they are long-distance champions in insect form. Some reach over 12 inches in body length, and with legs stretched, they get to absurd sizes. The strangest part is the contrast. They look like lifeless dry twigs, but they are there breathing and walking like it is nothing. Many species can also live a surprisingly long time for an insect if conditions are right. The termite queen is the real final boss of longevity in social insects. She can live for decades while laying thousands of eggs, which breaks the usual idea that reproduction shortens life. Solid reports in large species show queens living more than 20 years, and some studies suggest extremely long reigns with special biological changes that let them last that long. The bones of many birds have air cavities, a feature called pneumatization. This helps keep the skeleton strong but lightweight, which is critical for flight efficiency. These are not fragile, hollow straws. They are designed to handle stress, and in many species, they connect to the respiratory air sac system. It is literal biological engineering. The first flower to bloom on the International Space Station was a zinnia grown in the veggie system. And the milestone was not just pretty, it was genuinely difficult. Flowering plants are much more demanding than leafy greens because of growth timing, humidity, fungus risk, and water control and microgravity. That moment was a small rehearsal for the bigger dream of real agriculture on long missions. The SpongeBob 40 holes thing is one of those beautiful internet obsessions. Fans have counted and mapped his pores like it was official anatomy. The joke is that in animation, the number changes depending on the shot, the gag, or the episode. The fact that people still sat down to count them tells you everything about the level of detail and fandom involved. Thomas Deininger works with perspective magic. From far away, you see a portrait or an animal that looks like a painting. When you get closer, you realize it is built piece by piece from trash and discarded objects. It is an optical trick with a message because it forces you to really look at what you usually ignore. The experience fully changes depending on your viewing angle. King penguin chicks look like an angry, fluffy toy because at that stage they are basically a ball of brown, down designed to insulate them from extreme cold. The furious kiwi look is not just meme material, it is survival. That coat keeps them alive before they develop the sleek adult plumage. In photos, they always look like they are judging you. A strawberry can have around 200 visible little seeds, and the wild part is that technically those seeds are achenes. Each dot is actually a tiny fruit with a seed inside. That makes strawberries weird. The red juicy part is not the typical fruit, but the fleshy base holding an army of tiny fruits. It is a factory of potential clones. Your body contains roughly 0.1 ounce of iron in total, which is why people say it would be enough to forge a small nail. Phosphorus is similar. We have several ounces of it, mostly in bones, which is where the popular comparison of thousands of match heads comes from. They are metaphors, but they help you feel that you are literally built from workshop materials. Color-changing tattoos that react to glucose, or pH, exist as a scientific concept in the form of special inks or skin biosensors. They are more research than street-ready fashion. The idea is simple and futuristic. Instead of pricking or measuring separately, your skin would warn you with color changes. There is still a long road ahead, but as a technological direction, it feels straight out of a movie. Sergeant Bill the Canadian Goat from the First World War became a legend because he was not just a mascot. He followed soldiers and, according to accounts, even saved a man by pushing him away just before an explosion. It is one of those cases where an animal slips into human history and becomes a symbol of companionship, chaos, and luck in the middle of horror. The USB drive campaign into North Korea is real, and it is basically information smuggling. Series news encyclopedias and outside world content are loaded onto flash drives to break isolation. What makes it powerful is that it is not new technology. It is a simple tool used as a political and cultural lever because a single folder of videos can change how someone sees the world. Jackie Chan also sings seriously. Since the 1980s, he has recorded music-performed theme songs for his movies and ended up with more than 20 albums between studio and compilation releases in multiple languages. It is the perfect plot twist. The guy who was already an actor, stuntman, comedian, and action icon also had a parallel pop career like it was nothing. The real police dog patrol in a parade always hits hard because it mixes military discipline with the awe factor. Trained dogs move in formation, obey tiny signals, and steal the show without saying a word. It always happens the same way. People forget the rest of the parade and remember the dog that walked like it knew it was on camera. The Eurasian eagle owl is so large and so predatory that when it accelerates to attack its silhouette and stare can feel more like a hawk than the classic postcard owl. It has striking orange eyes, massive talons, and a surprisingly powerful flight for its size. That is why its villain face feels very real when it switches into hunting mode. Origami in surgery is not just a pretty phrase. Folding paper is used as a precision exercise to train fine coordination patience and controlled movement, very similar to what is needed in minimally invasive surgery. On top of that, origami style, folding appears in medical devices and techniques that deploy inside the body like structures that unfold once they reach their destination. The blue side toward you if you are sick mask trick went viral, but it does not actually work that way. In typical surgical masks, the colored side faces outward and the white side inward because the design repels moisture and splashes on the outside and absorbs on the inside. What matters most is proper fit, keeping it dry and not touching the front. The claim that forgetting your wife's birthday is illegal in Samoa circulates as a spicy fact, but it is treated as an internet myth rather than an enforced law. It is the perfect kind of rumor. It sounds specific and cultural, so it sticks, but it does not hold up as a real rule when the origin is checked. Camels eat cactus because they have tough lips and mouths adapted to rough plants. They chew calmly, and their anatomy reduces damage from spines. They are not invincible, but they are far better equipped than we are for that prickly snack. While the southern viscacha looks sad because of its face and droopy eyes, but most of the time, it is just in full relaxation mode. It sits on high rocks, sunbathing, resting, and grooming calmly. It is diurnal lives in rocky areas and literally spends part of the day parked grooming and soaking up the sun like it is on a premium routine. Seeing crocodilians with their snouts sticking out when water freezes is a cold survival mode. They stay still, slow everything down, and keep a small breathing hole while the water turns icy. It looks like a frozen statue, but it is a real brumation strategy. Newton's tree is one of those strange symbols that still exists. At Woolsthorpe Manor, the apple tree linked to the famous story is preserved as a physical reminder of the questions that sparked ideas about gravity. And it did not change physics by itself, but it remains a symbol of how a simple observation can ignite a mental revolution. The pyramids did not always look worn down. They were once covered in smooth, light-colored limestone that could reflect sunlight and appear bright from far away. Over time, earthquakes, stone theft, and reuse stripped away that outer skin, leaving the step structure we recognize today. Apples float because inside they contain lots of tiny air pockets in the flesh, like a fine sponge. This lowers their average density compared to water. That is why a whole apple floats, but if you crush it or remove those air spaces, the behavior changes completely. Smart hair sounds like science fiction, but the real idea is simpler. Minerals like zinc and copper are linked to hair health and body processes, and deficiencies can affect hair loss or pigmentation. Visible shine depends much more on the cuticle damage and natural oils. Hair does not think, but it does reflect how your internal and external maintenance is doing. Some parts of the Harry Potter films had alternate versions for the UK and USA, mainly because of the Philosopher's Stone versus Sorcerer's Stone change. In certain scenes, different takes or re-recorded lines were used depending on the market. It is a tiny detail, but once you know it, you start hunting for it like a detective. The little arrow next to the fuel icon is the ultimate car life hack. That tiny triangle tells you which side the gas cap is on. It is basically a built-in GPS, so you do not stand at the pump having an existential crisis. What's Jupiter's great red spot is not a dolphin or a friendly shape. It is a gigantic storm, a massive swirling system on a gas giant planet. It looks like an eye, but it is pure alien weather. The wild part is that it has been observed for centuries and still keeps changing size and shape. Sea otters are premium tool users. They use rocks to crack open shells, and many keep a favorite stone tucked into a loose fold of skin under their arm like a secret pocket. That is why you see them floating on their backs, smashing shells and guarding their stone like it is a personal remote control. Furniture that moves by itself already exists in prototypes and products. Robotic systems like Ori slide walls and beds to turn a studio apartment into a different room in seconds. There are even modular robot projects that reconfigure into chairs or tables. The idea is a home that changes shape depending on what you need using buttons, voice, or gestures. The case of Bernadette Soubirous is famous because her body was exhumed multiple times and became a topic of debate and devotion. A key detail often left out is that wax masks and coverings were used on the face and hands for display to hide normal deterioration. The no decomposition claim online is usually a simplified version of a much more technical story. The Hessdalen phenomenon is the kind that sticks with you because it is not just one video. It is an area where strange lights have been reported for decades, and projects have tried to measure them with instruments like cameras, radar, and sensors. There is still no single definitive explanation accepted by everyone, which is why the mystery survives. MHS Britannic was Titanic's sister ship, but its tragedy happened in war. Converted into a hospital ship, it struck a mine near Greece in 1916 and sank in less than an hour. 30 people died, but more than 1,000 were rescued. Even so, it became known as the Forgotten Titanic because the iceberg story took all the attention. Violet Jessup is the definition of unbelievable. She was aboard Olympic during its collision, survived the Titanic, and later survived the sinking of Britannic as well. That earned her the nickname Unsinkable, even though it was really a brutal mix of working on those ships, historic bad luck, and absurd personal luck to come out alive from 3 maritime disasters. The Bagger 293 is not just an excavator, it is a structure about 315 feet tall that looks like a moving city, and holds the record for the heaviest land vehicle in the world. It is used in Germany to chew through entire layers of earth and coal, moving up to about 8,470,000 cubic feet per day. The most shocking part is that to move it from one mine to another, they have to cut roads and power lines because nothing in its path is big enough to get out of the way. The trial of Pope Formosus, known as the Cadaver Synod, sounds like something out of a nightmare. In the 9th century, Pope Stephen VI ordered the body of his predecessor dug up, addressed it in papal robes, and seated it on a throne to put it on trial for alleged crimes. Since the corpse obviously could not speak, a deacon hid behind the throne to answer on its behalf, in one of the darkest and strangest episodes in Vatican history. The space growth spurt happens because in zero gravity, an astronaut's spine expands without Earth's weight compressing the intervertebral discs. This can make them grow up to about 2 inches temporarily, although the process often comes with intense back pain. When they return home, gravity does its job, and within a few days they go back to their normal height, as if the body snapped back into place. The missile crisis of 1962 almost ended in nuclear war, and it was avoided thanks to a secret conversation in the Occidental restaurant in Washington. An ABC journalist, John Scali, and a Soviet spy, Alexander Fomin, met clandestinely to propose a deal their governments could not officially discuss. It was pure behind-the-scenes diplomacy to keep no one from pressing the red button by mistake. The Lockheed SR-71 Blackbird was so fast that its main defense against a missile was simply to accelerate and leave it behind. It was built almost entirely out of titanium to withstand extreme friction heat, and the curious part is that on the ground, it leaked fuel because its body panels were designed to fit perfectly only when the metal expanded during supersonic flight. Göbekli Tepe is about 11,600 years old, making it thousands of years older than the pyramids and Stonehenge. What completely puzzles archaeologists is that it was built by hunter-gatherers, and are people who supposedly did not have the organization needed for megalithic construction. This discovery suggests that religion and temples came before agriculture and cities, changing what we thought we knew about the origin of civilization. The mystery spot in California is a place where the laws of physics seem to stop working. Water appears to flow uphill and people lean at impossible angles without falling. In reality, it is a masterclass in optical illusion, built on a very slanted ground that confuses your inner ear and brain, making you lose your sense of what is truly vertical. The Battle of Stalingrad was the bloodiest stage of the Second World War, with soldiers fighting room by room in what they called the Rat War. It lasted almost 6 months, and the level of brutality was so extreme that the city was reduced to total rubble. It stands as the ultimate symbol of extreme resistance and how human conflict can reach almost unimaginable levels of horror. The mystery of the Mary Celeste is the ultimate ghost ship story. It was found sailing perfectly fine in 1872, with food on the table and cargo intact, but without a single trace of the crew. There were no signs of a struggle or a storm. They simply vanished. The most accepted theory today is that an alcohol vapor leak frightened the captain and everyone jumped into the lifeboat, which was later lost in the vast ocean. Jack the Ripper became a myth not only because of his crimes, but because of how he taunted the police by sending mocking letters from hell. Even though London was on high alert and there were hundreds of suspects from butchers to aristocrats, his identity was never confirmed. Today, and more than a century later, the case remains the most famous unsolved puzzle in criminology. Greek fire was the secret weapon of the Byzantines and worked like the napalm of the ancient world. It was a chemical mixture launched with siphons, and unlike normal fire, water did not put it out, but made it burn even stronger, even on the sea. It was so valuable that its exact formula was kept under lock and key and was ultimately lost forever when the empire fell. Exercise on the International Space Station is a matter of survival because without gravity, bones and muscles deteriorate incredibly fast. Astronauts have to train about 2 hours a day using special machines with harnesses and elastic cords that simulate body weight. Without this intense training, and when they returned to Earth, their bones would be so fragile they could break just from the effort of walking. The hummingbird is a marvel of biological engineering. It is the only bird that can fly backward and hover in midair, thanks to its wings rotating in a figure-8 pattern. To maintain that pace, its heart can beat up to 1,200 times per minute, which means it lives constantly on the edge of its energy limits and must feed on nectar nonstop to survive. DNA printing allows us today to write life the same way we write software code on a computer. There are machines that print genetic chains letter by letter, opening the door to creating custom bacteria that can eat plastic or produce specific medicines. It is a technology with infinite potential, but it also raises ethical dilemmas about how far we should go in redesigning nature. Mansa Musa was so unimaginably rich that his journey to Mecca changed the economy of all North Africa. He carried so much gold and gave away so much of it while passing through Egypt that the value of the metal collapsed, causing massive inflation that took more than 10 years to recover from. He is literally the man who broke the gold market simply by being generous. The Island of the Dolls in Xochimilco is a creepy place where thousands of old broken dolls hang from the trees. The original owner, Julian Santana, began placing them to calm the spirit of a girl he believed was haunting him. Over time, the site filled with legends of disappearances and strange phenomena, turning it into a cult destination for those seeking real paranormal experiences. LiDAR technology has changed archaeology forever. In Cambodia, it allowed researchers to digitally strip away dense jungle and uncover Mahendraparvata, a massive medieval city that had been hidden for centuries. The incredible part is that it was not just a temple, but a complex urban network that could have housed nearly 1 million people, revealing that the Khmer Empire was far larger and more advanced than textbooks claimed. The Plexus works by Gabriel Daw are an optical illusion brought to life. He uses miles of colorful embroidery, threads stretched with mathematical precision to create structures that look like solid beams of light or rainbows frozen in midair. The magic is that depending on where you stand, the installation changes shape and color, playing with how your eye perceives the color spectrum. Volcano boarding is the ultimate sport for adrenaline addicts, especially on Cerro Negro volcano in Nicaragua. You slide down a slope of volcanic ash on a reinforced wooden board at speeds that can exceed about 50 miles per hour. The wildest part is that since it is an active volcano, the surface is hot and the landscape feels alien, turning a simple descent into an extreme experience. The crinkle-crankle walls of England are a stroke of simple engineering genius. Although they look wavy purely for style, that curved shape gives them structural stability that a straight wall does not have. Thanks to the curves, the wall can stand with just a single layer of bricks and no buttresses, ironically using less material than a straight thick wall. Staying at the Adachi Ryokan in Fukushima is a journey into traditional Japan. Anase, its main attraction is an outdoor onsen that looks like a river of steaming bluish water surrounded by nature. It is the perfect place to disconnect, where mineral-rich water and old wooden architecture make you feel like time stopped a couple of centuries ago. The hula burger was McDonald's great failed experiment of the 1960s to attract Catholics who did not eat meat on Fridays. Instead of beef, it had a grilled slice of pineapple and cheese. In the end, it competed against the Filet-O-Fish in a sales test and lost badly. People like pineapple, just not enough to make it the heart of a burger. The robot Stan is the valet parking system of the future. It is an autonomous platform that slides under your car, gently lifts it by the wheels, and parks it with pinpoint precision. It can work 20 hours straight, and because it optimizes parking space perfectly, it allows many more cars to fit in the same area without humans having to maneuver. The largest pizza in the world, nicknamed the Big New Yorker, shattered records in Los Angeles with nearly 14 million square feet. An entire hangar was needed to cook it in sections using mobile heating devices. The best part of this feat was not just its size, but that nothing was wasted. 68,000 slices were donated to food banks and charities. If you suspect your cat has been up to something, ultraviolet light is your best ally. Cat urine contains porphyrins and other proteins that glow yellowish or greenish under black light. It is a classic cleaning trick because it helps you find stains invisible to the human eye that, if not thoroughly cleaned, will keep smelling for a long time. Real wasabi served in high-end restaurants has nothing to do with the spicy green paste from the supermarket, which is usually horseradish with food coloring. The real thing is grated from the root of Wasabia japonica, a plant that takes years to grow and needs crystal clear running water. Its flavor is far more complex and delicate, and the most curious part is that it loses its punch just 15 minutes after being grated. Orcas are military strategists of the ocean. One of their most famous tactics is wave washing. They swim in perfect formation toward an ice floe to create a coordinated wave that knocks a seal straight into the water. And this shows not only their intelligence, but also that they have culture, since these techniques are taught from generation to generation within the pod. The robot Anna represents a step forward in domestic artificial intelligence. Unlike standard vacuum cleaners, it is trained to understand the geometry of real homes. It can identify objects, avoid complex obstacles, and adapt its cleaning to the specific shape of each room. It is a preview of robotic assistants that actually understand how a human home works. Seeing an asteroid hit the moon is a reminder that space is in constant motion. Since the moon has no atmosphere to burn up space rocks, even small asteroids strike the surface directly, creating flashes of light that can sometimes be seen from Earth with telescopes. It is a stunning visual spectacle that shows the continuous formation of new craters. NASA is developing a snake robot called Eels, designed to explore Enceladus, a moon of Saturn. This mechanical snake can crawl through cracks in the ice and descend into underground oceans in search of signs of life. Its shape allows it to adapt to terrain where wheeled robots would get stuck, making it one of the most ambitious bets yet in the search for extraterrestrial life. Pearls are born from a defense mechanism. When a grain of sand or a parasite enters an oyster, it begins secreting layers of nacre to isolate the intruder. Over the years, that protective process creates a shiny, perfect sphere. What we see as a luxury jewel was simply the oyster's way of keeping something from irritating it inside its shell. The Schmidt Pain Index is a scientific but very curious list created by Justin Schmidt, who let himself be stung by almost 80 species of insects in order to classify them. The scale goes from 1, like a small spark, to 4, like walking on burning coals with a rusty nail in your heel. His description of the bullet ant's sting as the most intense pain in the world is legendary in biology. Ostriches are elite athletes. They can maintain a constant speed of about 43 miles per hour, which makes them the fastest birds on land. Their legs are so powerful that a single kick can be lethal, even to a lion. On top of that, they can take strides of up to about 16 feet, which lets them cover huge distances in seconds when they feel threatened. Romanesco broccoli is proof that nature loves mathematics. It grows forming perfect fractals, where each small floret has the same shape as the whole piece, repeating itself in a logarithmic spiral. Besides being edible and nutritious, it is a visual example of the Fibonacci sequence in the plant world. As strange as it sounds, rabbits know how to swim, and they do it quite well, using their powerful hind legs to propel themselves. It is not something they do for fun, since they prefer solid ground, but if they are cornered by a predator or need to cross a canal to reach food, they jump into the water without hesitation as an effective survival tactic. The Asiana Airlines flight incident feels like something out of an action movie. A passenger managed to open the emergency door when the plane was still about 656 feet above the ground just before landing. The terrifying part is that at that height, the pressure difference is not as extreme as at cruising altitude, which allowed the door to give way, leaving passengers exposed to hurricane-force wind. Luckily, the pilot kept control and landed safely, creating one of the most viral and unsettling aviation images in recent years. Hyams Beach in Australia is literally dazzling. It holds the Guinness record for the whitest sand in the world. This is not ordinary sand, since it is made almost entirely of pure quartz crystals, which give it a tropical snow-like appearance. It is so bright that on sunny days, sunglasses are basically mandatory to avoid being blinded by the reflection. Robotor is the nightmare or dream of any sculptor. It is a robotic arm equipped with a diamond chisel that can carve massive marble blocks with microscopic precision. It can replicate Renaissance masterpieces almost perfectly, doing in just a few days what would take a human years of manual work. It is the ultimate fusion of classical art and modern automation. High heel racing is a sport that openly challenges physics and balance. In countries like Mexico and Russia, competitions are held where participants must sprint at full speed, wearing shoes at least about 4 inches high. Watching the sprints, and especially the stumbles, is wild, but the most impressive part is the technique they develop to avoid twisting an ankle while chasing the prize. Papua New Guinea is a linguist's paradise. With more than 850 different languages, it is the place with the greatest linguistic diversity on the planet. This happened because its mountainous jungle geography kept tribes isolated for thousands of years, allowing each community to develop its own language. It is so extreme that you can walk just a few miles and meet people who speak something completely unintelligible to their neighbors. As the caterpillar Uraba lugans is known as the Mad Hatter for a very strange reason. Every time it sheds its skin, it keeps the old head capsule and stacks it on top of the new one. Over time, it ends up carrying a tower made of its own past skulls. This is not fashion, and scientists believe the stack helps confuse predators or defend against wasp attacks. The human stomach is an incredibly elastic organ that can expand to hold about 4 gallons of content. Over an average lifetime, it processes between about 33 and 66 tons of food and liquid. It is a chemical demolition machine that uses acids strong enough to dissolve metal protected only by a mucus lining that the body must constantly regenerate. Those famous green codes falling down the screen in the Matrix hide a very ordinary secret. They are sushi recipes. Once the production designer scanned characters from his wife's Japanese cookbooks and mixed them together to create the digital effect. So the true reality behind the Matrix is basically a guide to making fish and rice rolls. Pagani, founded by Argentine Horacio Pagani, is the gold standard of hypercars. Each car is handmade in Italy using exotic materials like carbitanium, which is a mix of carbon fiber and titanium that is incredibly light and strong. Models like the Zonda or the Huayra are considered rolling works of art where every bolt costs hundreds of dollars and is individually designed. Believe it or not, we know more about the surface of Mars than about the bottom of our own oceans. The pressure in the deep sea is so crushing that it is far harder to design machines that can reach the seafloor than spacecraft that travel to space. And down there is no light, and the pressure is like having several elephants standing on your thumb, making it the most hostile and least explored place on Earth. Fleas are the acceleration champions of the animal world. When they jump, they reach forces of up to 100 times gravity in a fraction of a second. To put that in perspective, an astronaut experiences about 3 times gravity during rocket launch. They use an elastic protein called roselin that works like a loaded spring, allowing them to leap distances that would be like a human jumping over the top of a skyscraper. In Canada, a vendor managed to sell bottled hot dog water for $35, marketing it as a miracle health drink. So it was actually a piece of social commentary and a marketing joke meant to show how easy it is to sell absurd products if you use the right words. Even so, people bought it, proving that packaging, design, and advertising can sell almost anything. Forpress is the first table tennis instructor robot, and it uses artificial intelligence to analyze the game of its human opponent. It does not just return the ball, but also studies your posture and stroke speed to give real-time advice. It is the perfect training partner that never gets tired and can adjust its difficulty level to always push you to your limit. Karen's Diner offers a unique experience where the food is good, but the service is intentionally terrible. The servers throw menus, insult you, and mock you throughout the meal. The twist is that the customer has permission to be just as rude within certain limits, turning dinner into a comedy show full of bad attitudes and laughs. The harpy eagle looks like a mythological creature because of its size and almost human-looking face. Its talons are as large as those of a grizzly bear, and have crushing power strong enough to pierce skulls. It is an elite hunter in the jungles of the Americas, capable of snatching sloths or monkeys straight from trees and lifting them into flight even if they weigh more than the bird itself. Space is completely silent because sound needs a medium like air or water to travel. Since space is a vacuum, sound waves have nowhere to move. Huge explosions in space would be totally silent to us. You would only hear something if you were touching another spacecraft or inside a suit with oxygen where sound can propagate. Anton Moses is an environmental hero who took reforestation to the next level by planting more than 23,000 trees in just 24 hours. To do it, he had to keep a relentless pace, planting one tree every few seconds without stopping. His feat is a world record that shows how individual determination can have a massive impact on forest recovery. In China, a very strange snack went viral: grilled ice cubes. They are placed over hot coals topped with oil, spices, and sauces and served before they fully melt. It is a street food trend that plays with thermal contrast and texture, being more of a sensory and visual experience for social media than actual nutrition. The world's ugliest dog contest in California is not about mocking animals, but about celebrating inner beauty and promoting the adoption of rescue dogs. In 2023, the winner was Scooter, a crested Chihuahua with inverted back legs. Despite his unusual appearance, Scooter became a symbol of resilience and joy, reminding us that love does not follow beauty standards. The city of Chongqing is an infrastructure labyrinth. Because of its extremely mountainous terrain, the subway system has to pass directly through apartment buildings. There is a famous station where the train literally enters through the 6th floor of a residential building. Engineers designed advanced noise insulation, so residents barely feel any vibration as the cars pass through their living rooms. Louis is a legend of longevity. This 132-year-old lobster avoided ending up on a plate after spending 2 decades in a New York restaurant tank. In 2017, the owner decided it deserved to go home and released it, weighing about 22 pounds. The most amazing part is that lobsters have an enzyme that repairs their DNA, which technically means they do not age like we do and could live far longer if not for predators or disease. It is fascinating to see how a plastic bottle starts life as a small rigid tube called a preform that looks like a threaded test tube. At the factory, these preforms are heated until the plastic becomes moldable and then placed into a mold where high-pressure air inflates them like a balloon, giving them their final shape in seconds. And this blowing process is what allows thousands of bottles to be made per hour efficiently. The most exclusive caviar comes from the albino beluga sturgeon and is known as almas, which means diamond in Persian. This delicacy can reach about $11,300 per pound because the sturgeon must be nearly 100 years old to produce these pale-colored eggs. It is traditionally served in tiny portions and eaten with mother-of-pearl or bone spoons, since metal could alter its delicate flavor. Manshat Nasser, known as the City of Trash in Cairo, is an extreme example of a circular economy. Its residents, the Zabaleen, collect waste from the entire metropolis and have achieved recycling rates of up to 80%, outperforming many Western cities. And then each family specializes in a specific material like plastic, paper, or metal, turning what others throw away into their main source of income. Dying in the vacuum of space would completely change the decomposition process we know. Without oxygen, the aerobic bacteria that normally break down the body could not function, and the extreme cold or intense heat of direct solar radiation would mummify or freeze the remains. In the end, the body would become a kind of biological time capsule, drifting through the cosmos for eons, almost intact. The squidworm Toothododrillus sami looks like something straight out of an alien movie. It has 10 front appendages that it uses to detect food and swim in the depths of the Celebes Sea. Not with its brown, gelatinous body and strange head tentacles, this relatively recent discovery shows that we still do not know even a fraction of the bizarre creatures living on the ocean floor. Nature sometimes seems to enjoy crafting art, and the succulent Senecio peregrinus proves it. Its leaves grow in such a perfect shape of jumping dolphins that it is also known as the dolphin necklace plant. It is highly sought after by collectors because as it grows and trails downward, it creates the visual illusion of a pod of dolphins leaping through the air. The HZ-1 Aerocycle was a bold attempt from the 1950s to give every soldier a personal stand-up helicopter. The design was terrifying with the pilot standing directly above massive, rapidly spinning blades. Although it was thought to be easy to control, it turned out to be unstable and extremely dangerous. So the project was canceled after several accidents proved it was not the best idea for the battlefield. When you face extreme cold, your body switches into survival mode through peripheral vasoconstriction. Basically, the brain decides to sacrifice your extremities to save your vital organs by reducing blood flow to the hands and feet to keep the heart and lungs warm. This is what causes frostbite because without warm blood, the water inside skin cells can crystallize. The color purple is almost absent from the flags of the world. Only Dominica and Nicaragua include it, and only in very small amounts. The reason is purely economic. Historically, purple dye was extracted from thousands of sea snails and was so expensive that only royalty could afford it. By the time synthetic dye was invented in the late 19th century, most countries already had their flags designed and did not want to change their identity. Facing the robo-keeper is almost frustrating for any professional soccer player. This robotic goalkeeper uses high-speed cameras to analyze the ball's trajectory 90 times per second. Thanks to its processor, it can predict where the ball will go even before the player finishes the kicking motion. It has managed to stop penalty kicks from stars like Messi and Neymar, proving that artificial intelligence precision is hard to beat. In 2010, McDonald's Japan decided the best way to train new employees was through the Nintendo DS. They created an exclusive video game called E-Crew Development Program that simulated every restaurant task from frying fries to dealing with difficult customers. Today, the few cartridges that survived are extremely rare and expensive collector items in the video game market. The orchid Anguloa uniflora is famous for its incredible resemblance to a small cradle with a baby wrapped in blankets inside. Native to the Andes, this flower is not only visually beautiful, but also releases a strong, sweet scent to attract pollinators. It is one of the most tender examples of how evolution can. At the end of the 19th century, looking up at the sky in Manhattan meant seeing a suffocating web of thousands of telephone and electrical cables blocking out the sun. Everything changed after the Great White Hurricane of 1888, a snowstorm so brutal that it tore down much of this infrastructure, leaving the city cut off and in danger. This disaster forced authorities to bury all the wiring, giving rise to the clear skyline we see today. In the middle of the Dubai desert rises the Miracle Garden, the largest natural flower garden on the planet. It features more than 109 million flowers, arranged in incredible shapes, including a full-size Airbus A380 airplane completely covered in vegetation. Oh, and the most impressive part is its irrigation system, which recycles the city's wastewater to keep this oasis alive under the intense sun of the Emirates. La Rosie is not just a school, it is the most exclusive club in the world for the children of the global elite. With tuition of about $130,000 per year, it offers 2 campuses, one main campus for summer, and another in the Alps for winter, where students can ski every afternoon. Its facilities include a nautical center, a professional theater, and a ratio of 1 teacher for every 4 students. The most expensive dress in the world, designed by Faisali Abdullah, was presented in 2009 and is valued at $30 million. Even known as the Nightingale of Kuala Lumpur, it is made of taffeta and silk, but its astronomical price comes from the 751 diamonds embedded in it, including a central pear-shaped diamond of 70 carats. It is more a piece of high jewelry than a traditional garment. In the internet domain market, the name is everything, and Cars.com takes the crown with a record valuation of $872 million. This price was not just for the name itself, but for the market value and massive traffic generated by such a generic and sought-after word in the automotive sector. It is a reminder that in the digital economy, a strategic web address can be worth more than many corporate headquarters. Nacreous clouds are a dreamlike visual spectacle, but they only occur under extreme cold conditions in the stratosphere. Their bright colors are caused by the diffraction of sunlight through tiny ice crystals. Although they are beautiful, they have a darker side because they enable chemical reactions that destroy the ozone layer, so scientists monitor them closely as an environmental indicator. If you have blue eyes, you share a genetic link with everyone else who has that color. They all descend from a single ancestor who lived between 6,000 and 10,000 years ago. Originally, all humans had brown eyes, but a genetic mutation turned off pigment production in the front of the iris. This mutation spread from the Black Sea region, creating the trait now shared by millions of people. The iCam, also known as ICAM, is a webcam that takes the idea of feeling watched to a literal and unsettling level. It has the shape and texture of a human eye. It blinks, looks around, and even frowns to express emotions. It was created by researchers to make us reflect on our relationship with the smart devices around us. The most interesting part is that it is open source, meaning anyone with a three-dimensional printer and some robotics knowledge can build their own watching eye at home. Hummingbirds live at such a frantic pace that to avoid starving during the night or in freezing climates, they enter a state called torpor. It is a kind of short-term hibernation where they lower their body temperature from about 104 degrees Fahrenheit to around 50 degrees Fahrenheit and drastically reduce their heart rate. This allows them to conserve vital energy, although when they wake up, they need time to warm up before they can fly again. Microbursts are a weather phenomenon deeply respected by pilots. They are columns of cold air that collapse from a storm and slam into the ground with the force of a giant hammer. When the air hits the surface, it spreads outward violently with gusts of up to about 150 miles per hour. They are powerful enough to knock down trees, damage structures, and cause aviation accidents if they occur near a runway, acting like an inverted mini tornado. Thanks to Braille mode on smartphones, blind people can type with surprising speed. Instead of using a visual keyboard, the screen becomes a sensitive panel where combinations of 6 dots are formed with the fingers to create letters. Combined with gestures and haptic feedback, this system allows a visually impaired person to write messages and emails with the same fluency and privacy as any other user. A very strange side effect of certain chemotherapy treatments, such as capecitabine, is the temporary loss of fingerprints. This happens due to inflammation in the palms of the hands and soles of the feet, which causes the skin to peel and become completely smooth. Although this leads to curious logistical problems, like not being able to unlock a phone or having trouble with immigration procedures, fingerprints usually regenerate and return to normal a few weeks after treatment ends. If roller coaster loops were perfect circles, the centrifugal force when entering them would be so abrupt that passengers could be injured or pass out. That is why engineers design loops in a teardrop shape using a technique known as a clothoid. This geometry allows acceleration to change gradually and smoothly, keeping the thrill of inversion while ensuring the human body can safely handle the G-forces. The emotional intelligence of whales is astonishing, and it has been documented that some species use their pectoral fins to hug each other. This physical contact is not accidental brushing, but serves to reduce group stress, show affection, and strengthen social bonds between individuals. It is a reminder that the need for touch and care is something we share with the largest mammals in the ocean. The sculpture, Rolling Through the Bay, is a monument to patience. Scott Weaver spent more than 35 years building it with over 100,000 toothpicks. Hornet represents the most iconic places in San Francisco, but the most incredible part is that it includes integrated ramps where ping pong balls can roll, creating a dynamic journey through the wooden city. It is a perfect blend of homemade engineering and detailed art. Artist Masayoshi Matsumoto takes balloon art to an almost biological level. He creates hyper-realistic figures of insects, jellyfish, and plants using only balloons without glue tape or markers. His ability to fold and twist latex lets him replicate complex textures and anatomy so precisely that his works look like glass or solid plastic sculptures, challenging what we believe is possible with such a simple material. The polar plunge is a challenge that consists of jumping into icy water in the middle of winter, a tradition practiced from frozen lakes in Canada to the coasts of Antarctica. Although it sounds like torture to many those who do, it seeks the massive rush of adrenaline and endorphins triggered by thermal shock. Beyond the personal challenge, most of these events are held to raise money for charitable causes, turning extreme cold into an act of solidarity. Hair turns gray not because it gains a new color, but because it loses the one it had. Inside hair follicles are cells called melanocytes that produce melanin, the natural pigment. With age or stress, these cells stop working or die, and hair begins to grow without pigment, making it appear transparent or white. The gray effect is simply the visual result of white hairs mixing with those that still have color. Wellington, the capital of New Zealand, holds the title of the windiest city on the planet. Its position by the Cook Strait creates a tunnel effect that channels and accelerates ocean winds, making strong gusts a daily part of life for residents. Extreme wind is so common that the city has had to adapt its architecture and signage so the air does not become a constant danger for pedestrians. Despite its global success, McDonald's in Vietnam failed to connect with the local public. The main reason is the country's incredible street food culture. Dishes like banh mi or pro are cheaper, served faster, and have flavors far more familiar to the population. For many Vietnamese, a chain hamburger is seen as an expensive product that cannot compete with the freshness and seasoning of traditional food found on every corner. Artist Erwin Wurm transforms everyday objects into surreal pieces, with his fat cars being among his most famous works. He uses polyurethane foam and polystyrene over real car structures to make them look as if they gained an exaggerated amount of weight. Through these sculptures, Wurm humorously criticizes consumerism and obsession with status, turning symbols of perfect engineering into soft, rounded, almost organic forms. Kelvin Helmholtz clouds are one of the rarest and most beautiful phenomena in the sky, looking like giant waves breaking in the atmosphere. They form when two layers of air move at different speeds, with the faster upper layer pulling on the lower one, creating those perfectly curled crests. They last only a few minutes before dissipating, so seeing them is a stroke of incredible luck for any weather observer. Atlas, the robot from Boston Dynamics, is the elite athlete of the robotics world. What began as a clumsy prototype is now a humanoid capable of parkour, jumping between platforms and performing flips with almost human agility. It was designed for search and rescue missions in terrain where wheeled vehicles cannot go, using a complex balance system that lets it recover even after a strong push. Neil Harbison is officially the first cyborg recognized by a government. He was born with achromatopsia, a condition that allows him to see only in black and white, so he decided to implant an antenna into his skull that translates color frequencies into sound vibrations. This lets him hear colors, including ranges humans cannot perceive, like infrared and ultraviolet, turning his visual perception into a constant auditory experience. The life of Margaret Ann is a living historical record because she was one of the very few people who lived across 3 different centuries. Born at the end of the 19th century, she lived through the entire 20th century and witnessed the beginning of the 21st century, experiencing changes that feel almost impossible. In a single lifetime, she saw the invention of the automobile and the airplane, as well as the arrival of the internet and the exploration of other planets. The Tibetan white yak is a sacred genetic rarity of the Himalayan highlands, surviving where almost no other mammal can. Its fur is incredibly dense and made of 2 layers, a long outer coat and a woolly inner layer that traps body heat, allowing it to endure temperatures as low as -40 degrees Fahrenheit. Its blood also has a higher oxygen carrying capacity than that of other cattle, which is a crucial evolutionary adaptation for surviving the extreme altitude of Tibet. Chicken Island, also known as Ko Kai in Thailand, is famous for its unusual rock formation, which from the sea looks like the neck and head of a giant bird. What makes this place a true natural spectacle is that during low tide, a strip of white sand appears, connecting it to the neighboring islands of Koh Tap and Koh Mor, allowing visitors to literally walk across the ocean between coral formations. Keeping a children's ball pit hygienic seems like an impossible mission, but it is handled with specialized machines that work like high-speed industrial vacuums. These machines can suck up to 20,000 balls per hour, run them through a washing tunnel with disinfectants and water jets, and dry them before returning them to the play area, removing bacteria and dirt on a massive scale to keep children safe. Erta Ale is known as the Gate of Hell in Ethiopia and is one of the few volcanoes in the world that has maintained a persistent lava lake in its crater for decades. Located in the Afar Depression where tectonic plates are pulling apart, it offers a hypnotic display of molten rock, bubbling and glowing intensely in one of the hottest and driest environments on Earth. Earth began its story about 4,600 million years ago as a blazing mass of molten rock in a violent young solar system. It formed through the collision and fusion of countless asteroid fragments and dust clouds orbiting the newborn sun in a process called accretion. Over time, gravity caused heavier elements like iron to sink and form the core, while gases released by volcanic activity created our primitive atmosphere. Operation Bernhard was the largest counterfeiting operation in history carried out by the Nazis during the Second World War. They recruited skilled prisoners in concentration camps to produce nearly perfect British pound notes, with the goal of dropping them over Great Britain to trigger hyperinflation and destroy its financial system. The quality was so high that even the Bank of England struggled to tell the fake bills from the real ones. The Palio of Siena is not just a horse race, but a battle of pride between the districts of this Italian city that dates back to the 17th century. It is run bareback through the narrow and dangerous Piazza del Campo, and the most curious rule is that the official winner is the horse, not the rider. If the horse crosses the finish line first, even if the jockey fell during the 3 laps, the district still takes the trophy and the historical glory. The Super Bowl is the ultimate cultural and commercial phenomenon in the United States, attracting more than 100 million viewers every year. Beyond American football, the event is famous for its economic impact as brands pay millions of dollars for ads lasting just 30 seconds, and it is the biggest food consumption day in the country after Thanksgiving, with massive amounts of chicken wings and guacamole eaten nationwide. The first photograph of a person was taken in 1838 by Louis Daguerre on the Boulevard du Temple in Paris. Because the exposure time lasted several minutes, moving carriages and pedestrians vanished from the image. However, in one corner, the silhouette of a man having his boots shined is visible, and because he remained still throughout the process, he accidentally became the first human ever captured in a photograph. Kabuki is the traditional theatrical art of Japan, where male actors perform all roles including female ones. It is known for kumadori, an elaborate makeup style in which each color represents an emotion, with red symbolizing passion and blue symbolizing evil. The stages feature a runway called the Hanamiki that cuts through the audience, allowing dramatic entrances and exits that are essential to the storytelling. The saltwater crocodile is a true prehistoric monster and the largest living reptile on the planet, reaching lengths of up to about 23 feet. It can live in estuaries and venture into the open ocean, allowing it to travel huge distances between islands. Its bite is the strongest ever recorded in the animal kingdom, capable of exerting nearly 8,800 pounds of pressure, which lets it hunt prey as large as water buffalo. Although Ushuaia was long considered the southernmost city, that official title now belongs to Puerto Williams on Navarino Island in Chile. Located along the Beagle Channel, it is a town that blends naval life with extreme adventure tourism. It serves as a gateway to landscapes dominated by glaciers, subantarctic forests, and the famous Diente de Navarino, which is the southernmost hiking route in the world. The release of Pong in 1972 marked the beginning of the modern video game industry. It was originally designed as a practice exercise by engineer Alan Alcorn for the company Atari, but its success was so overwhelming that the first machine installed in a local bar broke down after just a few days, simply because the coin container became so full that the mechanism jammed. Hanami is much more than flower viewing and represents a celebration of the transient nature of life in Japanese culture. People gather under blooming cherry trees to have picnics and enjoy the scenery. The most anticipated moment is Sakura Fubuki, when the petals begin to fall like a gentle pink snowfall, symbolizing fleeting beauty that must be appreciated in the present. The porcupine carries an arsenal of up to 30,000 quills, but contrary to popular belief, it does not shoot them like projectiles. And the quills detach easily on contact and are covered in microscopic barbs that act like hooks embedding deeply into an attacker's tissue. Interestingly, the quills are coated with natural antibiotics, which helps prevent the animal from getting infected if it accidentally pokes itself. The coelacanth is the most famous living fossil in biology, having been thought extinct, alongside the dinosaurs, about 66 million years ago. Its rediscovery in 1938 off the coast of South Africa shocked the scientific world. It is unique because it has lobed fins with a bone structure similar to the limbs of land animals, making it a key species for understanding how vertebrates transition from water to land. And the bullet ant holds the record for the most painful insect sting known, and the pain is described as pure, sharp, and relentless, like being shot, which is where its name comes from. It is also called the 24-hour ant because that is how long the venom's effects last. In some Amazonian cultures, such as the Satremawe, young men must place their hands into gloves filled with these ants to prove their passage into adulthood, enduring the pain without making a sound. The Jackson's chameleon looks like a tiny prehistoric creature thanks to the 3 horns that males display on their heads, resembling a miniature triceratops. Native to the forests of Kenya and Tanzania, this reptile not only changes color for camouflage, but also reflects its emotional state, becoming more vibrant when threatened or excited. Unlike many other chameleons, they give birth to live young instead of laying eggs. Las Fallas of Valencia are an explosion of art, satire, and fire that transforms the city every March. The monuments, called Nine Knots, can reach heights of nearly 100 feet and often deliver sharp criticism of politicians or social issues. The climax is the crema, when all of these artworks except one, saved by popular vote, are burned in massive bonfires, symbolizing renewal and the arrival of spring. Johann Sebastian Bach was a genius whose productivity extended beyond music, as he had 20 children across his 2 marriages to Maria Barbara and Anna Magdalena. Although many did not survive childhood, 4 of them became influential composers who helped bridge the Baroque and classical eras. The Bach household was essentially a permanent music school, where composing, rehearsing, and teaching happened daily. The first digital photograph in history was not taken with a camera, but with a drum scanner. In 1957, Russell Kirsch digitized a photo of his son Walden in a laboratory in the United States. The image was a tiny square of 176 by 176 black and white pixels, yet it marked the beginning of the digital age. Kirsch did it simply to prove that a computer could see and store visual information, which was unthinkable at the time. Before becoming the giant we know today, Google was originally called Backrub. Larry Page and Sergey Brin chose the name because the search engine analyzed backlinks to determine a website's importance. Soon after they changed it to Google, a wordplay based on the mathematical term Google, meaning 1 followed by 100 zeros, symbolizing their mission to organize an almost infinite amount of information. The Narmer palette is considered the birth certificate of Egypt. Dated to around 3100 before Christ, this carved stone shows King Narmer unifying Upper and Lower Egypt under a single rule for the first time. It is crucial because it established artistic conventions that lasted 3,000 years, including hierarchical scale profile views and the use of religious symbols to legitimize pharaonic power. After his victory and death at the Battle of Trafalgar, Admiral Nelson's body had to cross the ocean to return home, and to prevent decomposition, sailors placed it in a barrel of brandy. The legend says the crew secretly drank from the barrel during the voyage, which gave rise to the naval expression tapping the admiral, meaning to drink on the sly. Otoshi-dama is one of the most beloved New Year traditions for children in Japan. Adults give decorated envelopes featuring anime characters or traditional designs filled with money. The amount depends on the child's age and family closeness, and for kids it is a perfect chance to learn about saving or to buy that special toy they have wanted all year. The Hercules beetle is the king of brute strength among insects and is said to lift up to 850 times its own weight. Males have massive horns that they use like pincers to fight rivals for territory or mates. Hey, despite their intimidating size and tank-like appearance, they are harmless to humans and spend most of their lives as giant larvae decomposing wood in tropical forests. The Dragon Boat Festival in China is a high-energy race of decorated boats that commemorates the poet Ku Yuan, who threw himself into the Miluo River in protest. According to legend, people paddled furiously to scare away fish and threw sticky rice dumplings into the water so the fish would not eat his body. Today, it is a colorful celebration of teamwork held on rivers around the world. Every year, the Hallerbos Forest in Belgium transforms into the Blue Forest for a few short weeks. A massive bloom of wild hyacinths creates a purple-blue carpet that looks like something out of a fairy tale. And the phenomenon is so delicate that trails are strictly marked because stepping on the bulbs even once can prevent flowers from growing for years. The Boryong Mud Festival in South Korea began as a marketing strategy to promote the cosmetic benefits of local mineral-rich mud. The idea was so popular that it grew into a massive international celebration. Today, thousands of people travel to wrestle, slide, and dance while covered in mud on a beach, proving that skincare can also be one of the most fun parties of the summer. The acoustics of the Theater of Epidaurus are a marvel of ancient engineering. If someone drops a coin or whispers at the center of the stage, it can be heard clearly from the last row, nearly 197 feet away. Modern studies suggest the secret lies in the limestone seats, which filter out low-frequency noise, like wind and crowd murmur, while amplifying the higher frequencies of the human voice. The first coins in history were minted in the Kingdom of Lydia, in what is now Turkey, and were made of electrum, a natural alloy of gold and silver. Before this, people traded livestock or metal bars, but these coins carried an official stamp, usually a lion, guaranteeing their value and weight. This invention revolutionized commerce by making trade faster and eliminating the need to carry scales for every transaction. The mountain oriole is a master architect of Central American forests. It builds elongated pouch-shaped nests that can reach lengths of up to about 6.5 feet, hanging from the tips of high branches to avoid predators. Most impressive is that they live in colonies where dozens of these nests dangle from a single tree, looking like giant fruits or natural decorations swaying in the wind. Imagine a Tesla with giant wheels, taller than a door. There are extreme experiments where they put enormous tires on the car to show how such a change destroys its stability, handling, and even the way it turns. It's like turning an electric sedan into a clumsy monster fighting every curve. In Italy, there's a medieval town nicknamed the Dying City. Civita di Bagnoregio sits on tough cliffs that are eroding away. To enter, you cross a narrow pedestrian bridge, and when you arrive, you're greeted by a beautiful and fragile place, as if it's living on borrowed time. In San Sebastian, Spain, there's the Pena del Viento, steel sculptures embedded in rocks by the sea, created by Eduardo Chillida. The twist is that the wind and waves are not just a backdrop. They're part of the art. There are holes in the rocks where air and water pass through, creating a natural concert of hissing and roaring sounds. In Knaresborough, England, there's a competition that looks like a joke, the bed race. Teams push a decorated bed through several kilometers of obstacles, including a river crossing. And the cruelest part, no wheels. The bed is carried or dragged, like a medieval mission. The $2 bill in the United States is real, it's legal, but it's so rare in circulation that when it shows up, people think it's fake. That's why many keep it as a lucky charm, and even gifting it is seen as passing on luck. It's a bill with the aura of something rare. Acai is a small dark berry from the Amazon, famous for its reputation as an antioxidant bomb. It became a global star through bowls, juices, and the idea of natural energy. In the jungle, it was a daily food. The Peel P50 is the tiniest car ever made famous. 3 wheels, 1 door, 1 headlight, 1 wiper, and a face that screams, "I'm a toy, but I drive." It was made in the 1960s and seems designed to park inside an elevator. In Yukon, Canada, there's a desert that's actually a geographical rarity, the Car-Cross Desert. It's very small, with dunes, and was formed by glacial sediments. So it's like a mini sea of sand left there. A cute mistake on the map. Capsule hotels in Japan prove the country optimizes everything. You sleep in a compact capsule with lights, air, and plugs. It's cheaper than regular hotels, but there's an unwritten rule: total silence. Because yes, you can hear everything. It's like sleeping in a human beehive. A kinball is a super weird and cool sport. 3 teams playing at the same time with a giant ball, more than 1 meter in diameter. Before launching it, you yell out the color of the target team, and that team has to catch it before it hits the ground. It's chaotic strategy, but with cooperation. Asha Mandela has dreads so long, they seem like a living story. We're talking over 19 meters of hair, growing for decades. It's not just a record, it's identity, patience, and pride turned into a mane. The Selkirk Rex looks like a cat that fell into a curling iron. Its curly fur is a genetic mutation, and it looks like a fluffy cloud. It's literally a cat with a sheep look, but with feline attitude. There are fruit records that are funny. For example, a giant strawberry that weighed almost 290 grams, grown by a farmer. It's like a strawberry decided to turn into an apple, but didn't give notice. In Japan, some breweries put Braille on the cans so that visually impaired people can identify that it's alcohol. It's a simple detail, but it changes everything. Real accessibility in something every day. The Wept Sonic Expander is an electric motorcycle designed to go fast, with speeds promoted as ridiculously high for an electric vehicle. It's the idea of, okay, I want a future engine today, but with the adrenaline of today. Bill Gates bought a manuscript by Leonardo da Vinci called the Codex Leicester. He paid tens of millions at an auction in 1994. It's literally buying a piece of Da Vinci's mind on paper. Will Wright, the creator of The Sims, got the idea for the game after a fire destroyed his house. Rebuilding from scratch made him obsessed with design, objects, spaces, and life inside the home. And from that tragedy came a life simulator. New York may seem full of alleyways in the movies, but in reality, it has very few real alleys. And one of the most used for filming is Cortlandt Alley, because it's one of the few with permits for productions. That's why you see it in countless shows without even realizing it. Genghis Khan is one of those names that carry historical terror. And there are massive estimates about the impact of his campaigns, even figures that repeat like percentage of the world. But the most cinematic part is his final order, for no one to know where his tomb was. And to this day, the exact location remains a mystery. In front of the Wall Street Bull, there was a sculpture of the Fearless Girl by Kristen Weisball, standing with hands on her hips as if saying, "You don't scare me." It became a symbol of strength and debate over power, money, and gender. A small statue with huge energy. Hallstatt, Austria, is a postcard village, nestled by a lake, with ancient houses and a long history tied to salt. It's so picturesque, it feels like a movie set. And when you get there, you understand why it gets copied everywhere. Cliff Young was a 61-year-old farmer who, in 1983, won a brutal ultramarathon between Sydney and Melbourne. Not looking like an athlete, he started behind and ended up beating professionals. His training was herding sheep for days. Field endurance turned into historic victory. The pangolin is a mammal covered in scales, looking like a small dragon. And sadly, it's one of the most trafficked animals illegally. They're hunted for their meat and for beliefs about their scales. It eats ants and termites with a super long tongue, incredible and vulnerable. The Pont des Arts in Paris became filled with love locks. It seemed romantic until the weight became a real problem. In 2015, they removed the locks because they were threatening the structure. Love, yes, but without breaking the bridge. In Copenhagen, there's the Kirkelbrunn, a bridge with circular platforms instead of a straight line. Designed by Olafur Eliasson, it's inspired by masts and sails of boats. It's a bridge that feels like walking across little islands connected. Fun fact about owls, if you look closely at an owl's ear, you can actually see part of its eye. Because their eyes are so huge, they don't rotate like ours, and they fill up the skull. That's why they turn their head, not their eyes. Extreme nocturnal design. Shreya Sadana received a double-arm transplant after losing her arms in an accident. After intense rehabilitation, she regained fine motor skills like painting and playing instruments. Stories like this remind us that the human body and medicine sometimes seem like magic. Mike Tyson has often talked about his love for pigeons. No joke, he competes with them, breeds them, and says they calm him down. The scariest man in boxing, relaxing with pigeons. That contradiction is gold. Domino's Pizza started as a tiny pizzeria in Michigan. Two brothers started it, then one took control and turned it into an empire. It's the classic story. Something small, and suddenly it's everywhere. And here's a paradox. The Jack Daniel's distillery is located in a county with laws that limited or even prohibited sales for a long time. So it's produced there, but buying it there can be complicated depending on local regulations. At a place that makes whiskey, but doesn't easily sell it, Kim Goodman has a very rare record. She can project her eyes outward several millimeters. It's a medical phenomenon and extremely unusual, but she became famous for it through Guinness. One of those facts that makes you grab your face without realizing it. Uber Helicopter was a promotional luxury service to fly from Manhattan to JFK by helicopter at specific times. It wasn't for everyone. It was a premium experience with aerial views and no traffic. Basically, traffic, but from above. Ferrari doesn't just sell cars, they select buyers. There are waiting lists and unofficial rules. There have even been cases where the brand gets upset if someone resells a model too quickly. It's luxury with private club control. In Polignano a Mare, Italy, there's Grotta Palazzesi, in a restaurant inside a cave with a sea view. You eat with the sound of the waves as background music. It's a romantic date, but movie level. The bald eagle has a brutal sense of vision, far superior to human eyesight. It can detect prey from afar while flying high. It's like having biological optical zoom, and that's why it's such a precise hunter. Inside the Dubai Mall is the Dubai Aquarium, a gigantic tank with an underwater tunnel where you walk surrounded by marine life. It's like stepping into a documentary, but in a shopping mall. Watch out for this one. Qatar often has cheap fuel due to subsidies, but the exact price can vary greatly depending on the time and currency. What's real is the logic. Strong subsidies can lower prices for consumers and drive up consumption. Ithea in the Maldives is an underwater restaurant with transparent walls. You dine several meters below the surface, watching fish and coral reefs. Dinner with sharks in the background, but calmly. Brittany Gallivan managed to fold paper more than people thought was possible back in 2002, using long, thin paper and mathematics to figure out how to do it. She debunked the myth of "it can't be done." The raindrop cake is a Japanese dessert that looks like a solidified drop of water. Made from water and agar, it's transparent and delicate. Served with toppings like sweet powder, it feels more like art than food. Sue Austin turned her wheelchair into a sort of underwater vehicle with propellers and dives, flying underwater. It's not just an achievement, it's a whole new way of seeing mobility and freedom. Here's useful technology. Nosy D is an app that uses a dog's nose as a unique fingerprint. The pattern of a dog's snout is different in every dog. You scan it, compare it with a database, and help find lost dogs. Nasal identity, pet version. Bothered by mosquitoes? In some parts of Africa, an extreme idea went viral. Trap them, dry them out, or turn them into mosquito burgers as if they were ground protein. Sounds gross, yes, but that's exactly why it exploded online, turning the enemy into food. The Shih Tzu, the famous lion dog, wasn't bred to be a sofa pet. In Imperial China, it was a palace treasure. Small but alert, bred to accompany the elite and warn if something unusual was happening. For centuries, taking it out of China was almost a sin. In Cambodia, an elephant named Chuk regained the ability to walk thanks to a prosthetic made from recycled tires. He lost a leg to a poacher's trap, and that makeshift yet clever piece gave him back his mobility. Trash turned into hope. In Belgium, there's a hotel shaped like a column. Yes, a human column. It's called Cassanus, and the absurdity of the idea turned it into a tourist attraction. You sleep inside it, and then the next day, you wonder what you've done with your life. Mirumi is a furry robot that attaches to your arm like a technological baby koala. It turns its head toward whatever catches its attention and looks at things with curiosity. The charm is that it seems like a little kid exploring the world, and that makes it adorable. In the Netherlands, there's a crazy farming sport, vierleppen. You run, jump onto an enormous pole, climb while it tilts, and fly across a canal as if you're a video game character. There are even official tournaments for it. You're told the heart is the strongest muscle, but hold up, the jaw muscles are also strong contenders. The masseter, the muscle you use for chewing, can generate some impressive force. Basically, your face has a hidden engine. Can't sleep because of the heat? And there are gadgets like the bed jet, which blows cold or hot air inside your bed to regulate your temperature. It's like having your own mini climate control just for your mattress. A weird luxury, but tempting. In Italy, they also hold cardboard boat races. Teams build their own boats and race to see who can go the farthest without sinking. And to make it even more interesting, the most creative design is awarded. Ingenuity versus water. Let's see who wins. The finger lime from Australia looks like a normal fruit until you cut it open. Inside, it has juicy little balls that resemble caviar. The snowy owl is huge, white, and lives in the Arctic like it's nothing. Unlike other owls, it can hunt during the day, taking advantage of the long summer daylight hours. It even has feathers on its legs as if it came with built-in clothing. In Austria, atop the Dachstein Glacier, there's a hanging bridge with breathtaking views, and at the end, there's a glass platform nicknamed the Stairway to the Void. You look down, and your brain screams no. Big Bo Brown is a ridiculously tall content creator, around 2.13 meters, showing the ridiculousness of daily life when you're a giant. Doors, showers, clothes, ceilings, everything becomes a mission. Preikestolen in Norway is a rock platform that rises more than 600 meters above a fjord. There are no guardrails, no safety mode, just rock, air, and a view that leaves you speechless. The Devil's Pool is a natural pool at the edge of the Victoria Falls. In the dry season, when the water levels drop, a calm pool forms where people can get in, literally on the edge of the abyss. It's not for everyone. Here's a brain bender. Peanuts aren't actually nuts. They're legumes like lentils. They grow underground, inside a pod. It's like nature said, let's make a nut, but hide it. Gary Turner has extraordinary skin elasticity due to a condition called Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. He became famous because he can stretch his skin a lot, even holding a Guinness World Record. It's impressive, but also a reminder that real medical conditions are behind the show. The United States bought Alaska from Russia in 1867 for $7.2 million. At the time, it was called Seward's Folly. Years later, with all the resources found there, it stopped being a joke. Simpson, a giant Shire horse, is listed as one of the tallest ever recorded, standing over 2.13 meters. These horses were so strong that they used to carry heavy loads like living tractors. Rani from Bangladesh became famous as one of the world's smallest cows, measuring around 61 centimeters in height. A real mini cow, not a toy, and as reported, she was healthy and calm. In Germany, on the island of Rügen, there's Prora, a monstrous building built by the Nazi regime in the 1930s. It was supposed to be a massive tourist complex, but it never functioned that way due to the war. It stands as a historical cement scar. Pietra Pertosa in Italy looks like a village glued to the mountain. It's called the Eagle's Nest because of its height. Stone houses seem to spring from the rock, as if the village was part of the mountain itself. La Casa Batlló in Barcelona is Gaudí in full force. Curves, mosaics, a facade that seems alive. It's a building you don't just look at, you feel it, as if it were a marine animal turned into architecture. The elephant shrew seems like an impossible cross. Tiny, fast, with a nose like a mini trunk. It's neither an elephant nor a close relative of rodents, but it's an agile insect hunter in African forests. The fennec fox is small but with huge ears. It's not for looks, it's for survival. Those ears help it hear prey and also dissipate heat in the desert. Natural radiators. In Prague, there's a huge kinetic statue of Franz Kafka. It's made of metal plates that rotate and shift to form, deform, and recombine his face. It's art that moves and makes you uncomfortable. Antilia in Mumbai is a private residence so big it looks like a skyscraper. It has countless floors and high ceilings, which makes it feel like an entire building. Luxury in final boss mode. The Ashima Ohashi Bridge in Japan looks like a roller coaster in photos, but it's a perspective trick. In person, the incline is manageable, but certain angles make it seem impossible. In Finland, Kakslautanen became famous for its glass igloos to watch the northern lights without leaving the warmth. You sleep under the sky as if your ceiling were a live screen. The Flatiron Building in New York from 1902 is that triangular building that looks like a stone ship. It was born from a weird corner between Broadway and Fifth Avenue and became an iconic visual symbol of the city. In China, a food went viral that seems like a joke. Grilled ice, charcoal ice cubes with seasonings, and they give it away for free. It doesn't fill you up, but it gives you a story to tell. Cricket is a religion in many countries. India, Pakistan, Australia, England, and millions of fans. It's estimated to have billions of followers worldwide. It might go unnoticed in some places, but on a global scale, it's huge. Lucy the Elephant is a giant elephant-shaped structure in New Jersey from the late 19th century. It's been a hotel, office, attraction, and has survived more than a century as a rare icon. In Belgium, in some cities, they parade giants up to 10 meters tall, made of wood and fabric. They look like medieval characters walking down the street. It's like seeing a story come to life. Right in the middle of the square, Aomori, Japan, gets absurd amounts of snow every year. We're talking meters and meters. The houses are prepared, life adapts, and snow becomes a routine part of daily life instead of just weather. Kowloon Walled City, before it was demolished, was one of the most densely populated places on Earth. A maze of hallways, makeshift buildings, little light, and nearly no planning. A city within a city, but in complete chaos. And now a heavy one will freeze your brain. The Soviet Union detonated the Tsar Bomba, the most powerful nuclear bomb ever tested, around 50 megatons. The explosion was so violent that effects were reported hundreds of kilometers away, and a gigantic cloud formed. Even those who worked on the project later described it as an unnecessary show of force. You see a martial artist, and your brain can't fully process it. Total body control, impossible balance, movement so clean that it looks like gravity stops for a second. Hypnotic. Pure discipline, physical and mental. Meet Porter, the first driving dog. In New Zealand, a rescue organization trained dogs to drive a car, and yes, they showcased it as a demonstration. Rescued dogs that went from abandonment to geniuses on wheels. A baby kangaroo's life starts like an impossible mission. Born the size of a bean, blind, yet it climbs up to its mother's pouch as if it had instinctive GPS. It stays there for months growing. Survival in miracle mode. Gobies from the Gobidae family are small, fast, and essential. They live in reefs and sandy bottoms, camouflage with colors, and are a key part of the ecosystem. They're tiny, but they hold a lot. The mini life that keeps the ocean running. Some marine mollusks may seem simple, but they are crucial for balance. Well, they live in the sandy bottoms or algae meadows, scraping food with a toothy tongue, and their shell is their bunker. Simple, yet vital. The Tegalalang rice terraces in Bali are a living postcard. It's not just pretty, it's an ancient system that works through cooperation to distribute water between villages. Agriculture with rules, tradition in a beauty that seems painted. Crocite is a mineral that looks like frozen fire. Intense red crystals, rare, fragile, and highly sought after by collectors. It's one of those things that makes you think, how can the earth make this? The larva of the Hercus, related to deep-sea lobsters, is an abyssal creature. Enormous pressure, cold, darkness, yet it thrives. The deep ocean is the planet's secret world. In a Chicago hospital, staff shortages led to rare solutions. Robot nurses that roam the halls delivering medical supplies. They don't replace humans, but serve as messengers around the clock. Technology as support, not as an apocalyptic movie. Tai Guokeng's fireworks don't look like fireworks. They look like brushstrokes, explosions with rhythm, shape, and design. It's as if someone is painting the sky with fire. Tradition, but with an artist's mind. The stocked jellyfish is the jellyfish that decided not to float. It lives anchored like a sea flower, attached to rocks or corals. It stays still and hunts with the help of currents. A Japanese island surrounded by reefs and crystal-clear waters sounds like a dream, and it is. Coral, colorful fish, vibrant life. The Tibetan fox has the most serious face in the animal kingdom. It looks like it's judging you. It lives in cold plateaus with thick fur, hunts in silence, and endures extreme climates as if it's normal. Square wheels? Shark wheel-made wheels with strange shapes that look square or wavy, and the idea is they roll better on certain terrains and avoid obstacles differently from a regular wheel. Geometry applied to real life. Baby crocodiles are already coordinated when they hatch. Before leaving the egg, they make little sounds to synchronize the hatching and call the mother. Literally, teamwork before even seeing the world. There's a motorcycle shaped like a pig, made by a Japanese engineer who added headlights on the snout and details like hooves. It's ridiculous, adorable, and perfect for the internet. Creativity on wheels. The Shar-Pei bear looks like a living plushie. Super fluffy fur, folds, doll-like face, and a calm attitude. The dog that makes you say, this can't be real. The Hyperion XP1 is a hydrogen-powered hypercar with a spaceship aesthetic. Futuristic design, wing-like doors, and an eco-friendly promise. It emits water vapor. Speed with a "the future is here" vibe. The courtship of the Aninga seems like choreography. The male makes fine movements, intense stares, and a dance to conquer. Nature doing ballet without knowing it's ballet. In Bahia, Brazil, a community turned cans into sound costumes. In Madre de Deus, they paraded costumes made from thousands of cans that make noise when they move. It's carnival, recycling, and accidental music all in one. 3-player chess is strategy squared. You don't just think about one opponent, you think about two. Quick alliances, inevitable betrayals, and moves where attacking could be suicidal. It's elegant chaos. A video blogger from Hong Kong submerged a smartphone in water to explore the bottom of a river and film creatures leave. Home science, pure curiosity. Technology used as a 21st century lantern. The poodle moth looks like a joke. Furry with big eyes, doll-like appearance, and yet it's real. The internet adopted it as the mascot of, what is that? In Zalek, Slovenia, there's a beer fountain. You buy a mug with a chip and serve yourself from the public taps. Tourism with flavor and control, so it doesn't turn into chaos. The sand viper is a ninja predator. It buries itself, leaving only its eyes visible, and waits. When something passes nearby, it strikes quickly. Perfect camouflage, ambush mode. And there are fish that live like secret neighbors beneath the sand, making tunnels, poking their heads out, and watching. Big eyes, endless patience. The ocean is full of little guards. The dwarf anteater is a mini ghost of the forest. It lives in trees, is very small, and is hard to spot. It eats ants and termites and moves hidden among the leaves. Traveling by bus through Himachal Pradesh is real adrenaline. Narrow roads, sharp curves, cliffs, and sometimes almost no barriers. It's beautiful, yes, but every curve makes you pray. The opuntia, or prickly pear, is a multi-talented cactus. Beautiful flowers, edible fruits, extreme resistance, and uses in cooking and even cosmetics. A survivor plant with extra life. In Miami, a restaurant uses a robot to assist waiters. It delivers food to tables, helps with service, and even interacts with customers. Stone art sounds simple until you see it. Stacking, carving, painting, balancing. It requires monk-like patience and a surgical touch, turning the ordinary into something that leaves you staring. PM01, a humanoid from a startup in Shenzhen, shows where robotics is headed, moving, interacting, collaborating on basic tasks. The future didn't arrive with lasers, it arrived with controlled steps. Sugar gliders are mini acrobats, nocturnal marsupials with a membrane to glide between trees. They jump, fly, eat nectar and bugs. They look like flying squirrels with the energy of a video game. In Arizona, there are artificial wave pools that generate perfect waves using technology. You can train surfing without the ocean, adjust the power, and repeat the wave over and over. A jump rope record that seems impossible. 228 jumps in 30 seconds, more than 7 per second. It's not a sport, it's a machine gun of coordination. In Borneo, orphaned orangutans learn to open coconuts by watching their caregivers. They observe, copy, try, fail, and keep going. Learning through play with a tropical reward. In a cave in Sulawesi, Indonesia, they found a painting of a pig that's over 45,000 years old. It's ancient figurative art, a window into the minds of our ancestors. Stone Age people saying, I want to leave something behind too. In Shilin, China, there's a stone forest. Giant rocks shaped like trunks, formed by erosion over millions of years. Walking through it feels like the planet got creative. A crash test in China was really strange. A car was hit by other vehicles in an extreme demonstration, shown as a test of its durability. It's marketing, sure, but still impressive to see metal hold up like nothing. Gravitational rescue suits sound like science fiction, but there are teams using exoskeleton-like technology or assistance to move better on tough terrain. Less risk, more speed, more safety. In Canada, there are simple blocks at crosswalks that serve as a physical reminder. The pedestrian places them visibly, forcing cars to slow down. Simple solution, big impact. Choreographed hand games aren't just for kids. One girl took them to the performance level. Everything's synced, each clap in rhythm, and when you watch closely, it's like watching a microscopic choreography. Pure visual skill. Now real magic, hot ice. It's supercooled sodium acetate, which stays liquid until you touch it or drop a crystal. Suddenly it solidifies in seconds, forming crystals while releasing heat. It looks like lab witchcraft. The giant Indian squirrel is a work of art on legs. Not only is it big, but it also has multicolored fur. It eats huge fruits like jackfruit and leaps between branches like an acrobat. An animal that looks designed by an illustrator. The surgeonfish Acantharus olivaceus is aquatic elegance. A fine silhouette, vibrant colors, up to 30 centimeters, and a calmness that made it famous in aquariums. The Viana canyons in Brazil look like an alien landscape. Strange shapes carved by erosion, unreal curves, textures from another planet. Walking through it feels like stepping into a video game. The Brazilian black tarantula commands attention just by looking at it. Dark, shiny fur, heavy presence, yet it's usually calm and non-aggressive. That's why some people keep it as a pet. Dark beauty, but serene. Watching a sledgehammer in slow motion is seeing physics without a filter. The impact travels through the body. The face vibrates like jelly. Everything moves in waves. It's brutal, fascinating, and a little scary. And now, a future bombshell. China reported large thorium resources in Inner Mongolia. Thorium is mentioned as a possible fuel for advanced reactors, often appearing in debates about future energy. It sounds like this changes everything. Dante Dintoni's Lego carpet isn't just a floor, it's a, how did you do that? Piece by piece, colors, patterns, texture, a floor that forces you to look at it like it's a museum. The disappearing square puzzle is a perfect mathematical illusion. You move the pieces, and out of nowhere, a hole appears. It's not magic. It's tiny proportions that trick the eye. Education with a built-in trick. And Buddha Lake in Idarup seems peaceful, but what really captures you is the idea. Beauty above, mystery below. It's the kind of place that makes you say, there's history here. In China, there are subway stations that feel like museums. Thoughtful design, integrated art, and details that make people stop and look. Transportation that feels like an experience. And this is straight out of science fiction. Some sea slugs can shed their bodies when they're sick, and the head regenerates the rest. Yes, it's like they're restarting the character. Nature saying, I've got a repair mode too. In Ukraine, there's the Tunnel of Love, a railway passage covered by intertwining trees that formed a perfect green tunnel. Accidental romance created by time. The puffin is cuteness with a beak, colorful beak, a slightly sad gaze, clumsy on land, but graceful in the air. It's an animal that looks designed for stickers. The Victoria crowned pigeon walks like a queen. It almost doesn't fly, moves serenely, with a blue crest like a crown. In Scotland, they use magnetic cases to lock up phones during class. It's not punishment, it's focus. You put the phone away, it locks, and that's it. Fewer distractions, more attention. Fun fact, Marvel had an early Captain America film in the 40s, and then Howard the Duck in 1986. And yes, Howard briefly appears in Avengers. Endgame as a nod. The industrial production of popcorn is hypnotic. Kernels popping in perfect rhythm, machines calibrated, everything choreographed. The magic of cinema starts in a factory. Seeing a humpback whale breach is like watching a building doing acrobatics. It pushes out of the water with incredible force, arches through the air, and crashes back down in a spray of foam. The golden silk spider makes threads that look like they're glowing. Its silk is strong and elastic, which is why it's being researched for advanced materials. Biological engineering in living mode. The longest-running anime in the world is Sazae-san. It's not epic, it's about a regular family, and yet it's been going for decades with thousands of episodes. Japanese Sunday tradition with an eternal record. Guangzhou Baiyun Station in China is massive. Huge surface area, many platforms and tracks, and the movement of millions of passengers. Infrastructure that makes you feel like an ant. Mount Etna in Sicily, when it gets serious, looks like the end of the world. Smoke, ash, lava, and a beautiful yet dangerous show, a reminder that the Earth is still alive. African herons that greet by batwing may sound strange, but it's a trust behavior that seems like courtesy, a simple gesture that feels almost human. The burger minion is an invention that exists because someone said yes instead of why not. Humor, engineering, a functional object, and a visual joke all at once. Electricity-based art. Controlled electricity burns or dyes areas of the canvas to create unique shapes. It's not a brush, it's energy drawing guided chaos. Bioluminescent waves in California. Dark sea. And suddenly it turns electric blue when disturbed. It looks like editing, but it's microorganisms emitting light. The Chapel of Bones in Evora is macabre and fascinating, decorated with human bones as a reminder of death. It makes you uncomfortable, but you can't stop staring. In China, They've tested railless trams that follow virtual routes using sensors and guidance systems. It looks like a tram, but moves like a smart bus. The future on the street. Living books are books with reliefs and mechanisms that make the illustrations move. Each page is a little machine. Reading becomes a physical experience. In Vietnam, a father made wooden car replicas for his children. Craftsmanship, patience, and sometimes even the support of modern technology. Family love turned into vehicles. The subway goes through a building. The station is on a high floor, and the train cuts through the structure. It's not CGI, it's engineering made possible by geography. Kilauea, Ek, Hawaii. Rivers of slow-moving, unstoppable red lava. It's hypnotic and frightening. The planet creating new land right in front of your eyes. In South Korea, they use water sprinklers on streets to reduce fine dust and help with urban heat. It seems simple, but in big cities, it adds up a lot. Modern exoskeletons now allow some people to walk, climb stairs, and sit with the help of sensors and batteries. Medicine and robotics making real inclusion possible. A dolphin playing with air rings is pure intelligence. It makes bubbles, manipulates them, blows on them, and seems to play with them as if they were toys. Steak tartare, raw ground meat, seasonings, egg yolk, capers. It's a French classic and entirely depends on quality and freshness. A simple dish, but with total trust in the product. The flamingos in Palakkad, India, dye the landscape pink, thousands together like a wave of color walking. Living postcards. The rodeo bed in the US is a ridiculous challenge. A bed that moves like a mechanical bull. Hold on for 30 seconds and you get a free stay. A themed hotel for the brave and viral clips. Lantern festivals. Thousands of lights rising into the dark sky, each one with a wish. It looks like rain in reverse. Collective hope in visual form. The giant fork in Switzerland became an icon. A massive sculpture you see from afar that makes you think, why is there a fork here? Art that turns into a postcard. The Devil's Eye in Iceland. Hot springs that steam even in extreme cold. Constant vapor, strange colors. A mystical vibe without needing to invent anything. A dog riding a skateboard always melts the internet. An adapted board, skill, confidence, Chinese New Year. Streets full of dragons, drums, fire, tradition, and energy that feels like a total festival. Culture in explosion mode. High-altitude work on skyscrapers. Precision to the millimeter. Wind. Risk. And people walking where your body would say, no way. Human skill in epic mode. The Earth's rotation captured on camera is technical poetry. Hours of exposure and the sky spinning, with stars and clouds. Patience turned into film. Australians saying, if the water is murky, stay on the shore. Because there might be things you don't want to step on or find. It's not fear, it's survival. Look at these two penguins walking with their flippers linked. Synchronized steps, total complicity, and the whole world saying, okay, today I believe in love. Quad ball, previously known as Quidditch, is Harry Potter in real life. Two teams of 7, all running with a stick between their legs. The goal is to score by throwing a ball through hoops at the end of the field. And the snitch isn't a flying ball, it's a ball attached to a neutral runner who runs like they owe him money. Catch it and earn extra points. And now a parrot that not only talks, it also distinguishes colors, tones, and even sorts beads by color without missing a beat. It learns through games and positive reinforcement. It recognizes voices and responds differently depending on who's speaking to it. It makes you think, some animals understand a lot more than we realize. Homemade art, but on a wow level. Painting sheets with ice. You make colored ice cubes, place them on white fabric, and wait. They melt slowly, or when the color moves by itself like a controlled accident. Each stain is unique because the water's physics is in charge. And the best part, anyone can do it. In the Netherlands, there's an engineering feat that looks like a visual trick. An aqueduct where boats pass above cars. Below, there's a tunnel for vehicles, 2 levels, water above, traffic below. And no one crosses paths. It's logistics with aesthetics. A reindeer running wildly in slow motion looks like a dance. It jumps, twists, and moves with wild energy. It's not just running, it's freedom in animal form, and it hits you in the chest. The wave in Arizona looks like a petrified wave. Perfect curves in rock, as if someone froze the movement. It was formed over millions of years of erosion. Access is limited because if anyone can enter, it will be ruined. It's a treasure that needs to be preserved. Nemrut Dağ in Turkey has giant statues on a solitary peak. Enormous heads of gods and animals looking out over the horizon. It's believed to mark a royal tomb. The most striking part is the atmosphere at sunrise and sunset. It makes you feel tiny. In China, there's the Xianren Bridge, a massive natural arch. A bridge that wasn't made by humans. It was carved by erosion. You look at it, and it seems like a fantasy set. Climbing or walking near it immediately commands respect. In Indonesia, Groyogan Watu Purbo waterfall falls in terraces. It's not one big drop, it's a water staircase. The sound is constant, rhythmic, almost meditative. And since it's not as touristy, it feels wilder. In Burkina Faso, there's Festima, a festival of African masks. Dances, drums, rituals, woven masks representing ancient spirits and traditions. It's like watching the past walk down the street. Modern things that satisfy strangely, removing graffiti with steam and high pressure. You watch the paint vanish in seconds without damaging the wall. It's used on delicate areas, old walls, sculptures, and heritage. Technology cleaning history in real time. And at big festivals, 3D holograms appear. Floating figures, artists multiplying, impossible scenes. Sometimes they even recreate performances from artists who are no longer with us, with a realism that gives you chills. It's a concert mixed with science fiction. In Bali, there was an invasion of giant spiders that covered roofs, cables, and trees with webs. The images looked like a horror movie. But as it was explained, it was a natural proliferation due to climate and season, harmless but visually pure terror. In the Arctic, there are ice flowers, thin crystals on young ice, like petals. They form with precise temperature and salinity. They don't last long, sometimes just hours. It's beauty that disappears before you can blink. And yes, parrots are wild, not just because of the colors. Many learn words, understand context, play, solve problems, and show emotions. Some read your mood without a single word. Personality with feathers. Watching a master blacksmith at work is hypnotic. Fire, red-hot metal, hammer, rhythm. Strike, bend, polish, repeat. It feels like a brutal choreography. And out of that violence comes something shiny and refined. A sailor trying to walk on a Norwegian ship during a storm is a brutal reminder. The floor moves, the walls vibrate, the sea hits like it wants to come inside. Every step is a small fight. The video went viral because it shows the truth. The ocean does not forgive. And if you ever thought an earthquake from a skyscraper must feel gentle, nope. The building sways slowly, like a wave. It creaks, it moves, and your brain goes straight into panic mode. Structural vertigo, total switch, onigiri, shaped rice, filling, nori seaweed, simple, portable, classic Japanese food. You grab one at a convenience store and you're set. The mongoose is small but not timid. It became famous for facing venomous snakes. Fast, smart, precise. Its weapon is timing. Folk ballet mixes classical ballet with traditional dances. A refined technique, but with local identity. Vibrant costumes, music, stories. Culture dancing with discipline. And yes, corn is a cereal native to the Americas with enormous value. Food, history, symbol. There are varieties in different colors. It was sacred to ancient peoples, and today it's a global staple. In Formula One, cleaning tires is life or death on track. In the pits, they remove rubber debris, dust, and dirt, all fast without damaging the surface. One bad second and you lose the race. Janil Park makes furniture that looks like three-dimensional drawings. Chairs and tables made of wire that trick the eye. Minimalist, strange, beautiful, like a sketch escaped from paper. Leptopoma perlucidum is a snail with an almost transparent shell, like glass. Beautiful, discreet, important microfauna. Oh, a creature that looks like a living jewel. There are masonry competitions where professionals go head-to-head. They build walls, finish surfaces, and are judged on cleanliness, speed, and safety. A trade turned into sport. And it reminds you that building well is an art. Leveling floors with polyurethane foam sounds strange, but it works. Foam is injected under the surface, expands, lifts, and stabilizes. No need to tear up the whole floor. Fast, precise, modern. Adam, the robot barista, prepares coffee with robotic arms and constant precision. Espresso, cappuccino, latte, no fatigue. Some models interact via screen or voice, the future serving coffee. According to a National Geographic campaign, Angelina Jolie let herself be covered by bees to raise awareness about pollinators. It was done with preparation to avoid stings and stress on the insects. The photos went viral because of the symbolism. Fame used as a megaphone. In Japan, they built tunnels for turtles under train tracks. Not a joke. They are passages so turtles can cross without being killed. They're installed where high mortality was detected, engineering to save small animals. Military training with pepper spray exists. It burns, makes your eyes water, leaves you almost blind for a while, and you still have to follow instructions. Mental control under stress with safety measures. Hanaran, Dubai. Banknotes made with sheets of 24-karat gold as collectible luxury items. They are not legal currency, but they replicate real designs in detail, sold as eccentric gifts, literally shiny. Releasing sea turtles is one of those moments that fixes your day. Newborn hatchlings, protected beaches, volunteers, and specialists following strict rules. The goal is simple: help them reach the sea to reduce the brutal mortality of the first minutes. Conservation, education, and an emotional scene that gives you hope. In places with extreme winters, people drive over frozen lakes. Literally, temporary ice roads used to move supplies or connect isolated communities. Thickness is measured, stability is monitored, and they close at the first sign of melting. Practical, vital, and at the same time, dangerously insane. Octavio Ocampo is a master of optical illusions. You look at a painting and see one thing. Blink and a hidden face appears. Then another scene inside the scene. His works are beautiful traps for the brain. Pure visual metamorphism. Crab fishing is not a calm postcard. It's cold, wind, rough seas, and hands that cannot slip. They use traps with bait to attract crabs without destroying them. Tradition and hard work with real risk every trip. Will Smith used personal cameras on the set of Bad Boys to capture unusual angles and action scenes. Closer, more dynamic, more you are there. It's not just acting, it's stepping into creative control of the shot. The Rufus Hornero is the hardest working architect in South America. It builds mud nests shaped like ovens, extremely strong, sun-dried and able to last for years. A symbol of home, a consistency in craftsmanship. Pitahaya, or dragon fruit, looks like it came out of a video game. Pink skin with scale-like shapes, white or red flesh with black seeds. Mild and sweet flavor, and it's decorative, high in fiber and vitamin C, exotic and photogenic. Octopus suckers are living technology. They don't just suction, they also feel texture and even taste. They contract, create vacuum, and grip with incredible strength. For movement, hunting, exploration, everything. An intelligent hand in tentacle form. Downhill is cycling with maximum adrenaline. Steep descents, roots, rocks, jumps, speed that erases thought. Bikes with advanced suspension and reflexes straight out of a video game. One mistake, and you pay hard. Lenovo's transparent laptop is a futuristic concept. Translucent parts that let you see through the device. Still experimental, but it makes you think about how computers will look when design matters as much as power. The Gelada is the primate that looks like a sheep. It lives in the Ethiopian highlands and grazes on grass like livestock. Males have a mane and a red chest patch that looks like an emblem. Extremely social, they communicate with gestures and complex sounds. Steel timber sports is logging turned into a show. Lumberjack athletes compete with axes, manual saws, and chainsaws. Speed, precision, strength. Forestry tradition transformed into elite sport. The mosquito buzz comes from insanely fast wing beats. Hundreds of vibrations per second. And it's not just annoying, it helps attract mates. That sound that ruins your night is biology in action. The Lely Discovery Collector is a robot that cleans barns. It vacuums manure from walkways without disturbing cows, improves hygiene, reduces odors, helps prevent disease. Farming plus automation, not romantic, but with real impact. Starfruit becomes a literal star when you slice it. Perfectly shaped slices. Flavor ranges from sweet to tart depending on ripeness. Vitamin C, fiber, and it looks like gourmet decoration with zero effort. A surfer made a board using recycled cigarette butts. Yes, cigarette butts. And the idea was not just, look how crazy this is. It was a statement. This waste is one of the most common and most polluting. Trash turned into a message. The cube burger exploded on social media because of its perfect cubic shape. A classic burger, but in block form, meat, cheese, vegetables, bacon, and a layer of liquid cheese sealed inside. Normal flavor, completely weird presentation. A tooth is not just a hard piece. It has layers. Enamel is the hardest substance in the human body. Under that is dentin, which carries sensitivity. In the center is the pulp, with nerves and blood vessels. Mary Beatrice Kenner was a pioneering inventor who patented an adhesive sanitary pad in 1957. She improved comfort and function in feminine hygiene. Even so, she faced discrimination. She created several useful inventions, but this one changed daily life for millions. Psychotria elata is the kiss flower. It looks like red lips. It grows in humid areas of Central and South America. It attracts pollinators like hummingbirds. It's famous for its shape, but also fragile due to deforestation. The giant tiger shrimp can grow beyond 12 inches. It has a tough exoskeleton and mottled colors for camouflage. Highly valued in cuisine and also farmed in aquaculture, a tank in shrimp form. There is a world championship for Excel. People compete with spreadsheets like it's an e-sport. Time-based challenges, formulas, logic, and sometimes macros. And yes, some levels look like mathematical magic. Being a panda nanny is cuteness with responsibility. Feeding with special milk, constant monitoring, non-emotional care. It's real conservation work. And the images of baby pandas took over the internet for a reason. The whale shark is the largest fish on the planet and still harmless. It filter feeds on plankton like a giant ocean vacuum. Its spots are unique, like fingerprints. Massive strength, peaceful behavior. Christ, the King of Poland in Świebodzin, is enormous. A massive statue that surpasses Brazil's Christ the Redeemer in total height when the full structure is counted. A religious symbol visible from far away and debated because of its scale. The Moscow guppy is an ornamental variety bred through selection with intense colors like blue, black, and purple. Males are usually the most striking, popular in aquariums for beauty and easy care. The mouse deer is a real miniature, a tiny ruminant from Southeast Asia, shy, silent, forest-dwelling, some weigh under 5 pounds. It looks like an impossible mix between a deer and a mouse. The Borges family in Brazil lives a scene that feels like a movie. They rescued tigers from a traveling circus and ended up with a group of 7 at home. They care for them, feed them, and even let them into the pool like part of the household. But careful, even if it looks cute on camera, living with an animal like this is extremely dangerous and not something to copy. In Paris, suddenly your bag can be a microbus. The brand Jacquemus pulled a viral marketing move. It's Les Bambino bags mounted on wheels, cruising iconic streets like tiny taxis. Ridiculous, elegant, and so strange, you can't stop watching. And this is all. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more Zarpado facts.